Okay.
Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Hey, hey, hey.
That was funky.
Sega. Just chucking that out there. Welcome.
Sega!
Sega!
Jesus.
Now we've scared everyone away. Welcome to the Lucky Hit Podcast, number 74 on the 8th of June 2020.
Hello.
Hello.
The
Summer's
Gagaman?
almost here.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it already has felt like summer here for quite a few weeks actually. You know, it's been sort of up and down, but yeah.
Yeah.
Seems to have gone now.
So I've been the Gagaman. I'm the Gagaman.
I'm CherryT.
Murry Curry.
I'm ShelvedGamer.
I'm Hunk Thunder.
And I'm the artist formerly known as Elk. Now I go by Big Elk.
Bigger. Right.
Bigger Elk. Actually, no, I'm Micro Elk.
Elk Micro.
Elk Micro, thank you.
Right, so as you could probably tell from the thumbnail, we're going to really be focusing on Sega's 60th anniversary and the stuff they announced for it. But before we get to that good stuff, let's talk about what we've been playing. I don't know who wants to go first.
Do you want to go first? Because
Go ahead.
I'm going to try and be quick.
Alright.
So, aside from the usual hopping between, I'd say 4 or 5 Pokemon games, we're adding a 6th one to that because you have very good eyes and you bagged me a bargain of the century, didn't you?
Basically, there's a shop in a town sort of near us. It's actually the first time we've been in this town since the basically. Without.
Darn hecklers.
And here we go.
I'm
doing my best.
Quick.
Yeah, and
So yeah, there's this shop in a town near us called, I think it's called like Stock Monster, and it's just a shop that mostly just gets like food from like random places and like all cheap stuff, isn't it?
yeah.
And very rarely, very occasionally, they'll get games in there and like DVDs occasionally, but very literally. So they literally have the odd one just lying around.
Jesus Christ.
What can I get?
What are they doing?
I'm like that guy on the news
Yeah, it just comes
Yeah.
rolling in.
Right, let's go upstairs. You need to clean your bum.
Yeah, that happened again to him.
To clean your bum.
We're doing that again in 3 days' time.
Yeah. Yeah, your new child will learn to speak immediately. When you're talking about cleaning their bum.
Yeah, like the beginning of what's that film called? Kirikou and the Sorcerer.
Oh, she's gonna walk out and start talking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, she wasn't talking to the actor, she's talking about me.
Oh, okay. All right. That changes my perception of everything.
Been sat in this chair for a long time.
I mean, that's what this lockdown does to you, I suppose. Yeah. So basically, this shop, for example, a few weeks ago, they just randomly had a copy of Mario and Sonic at the Tokyo Olympics for the Switch.
Oh, wow.
And it was a tenner. And I picked it up, I bought it, and then I walked out the shop. I unsealed the case because it was sealed, opened it up, and there was no cartridge in it. And I took it back and got my money back, thankfully. So it's that kind of shop. They literally just get anything from anywhere. They reckon what happened, the reason they ended up with that random Switch game is maybe one of the people they get stock from probably like stole the cartridge out of the case or something and dumped it in a crate. They just get like random crates in. But anyway, we were there last week and I spotted a copy of Pokemon Black version 2.
Oh, it's Pokemon White 2.
Oh, White 2 rather.
And it was legit.
It was £3. It was sealed. Actually, no, I don't think it was sealed.
It wasn't sealed.
It was £3.
Yeah,
it was £3.
Nice.
And you know,
you just don't get deals like that anymore, do you?
You
don't find games of that like, wanting it.
Nah.
And like Pokemon games are hard to find legit copies of,
There's a lot of snipes out there.
At least here in the States, you can't find the original red, blue, or yellow for that price either.
Oh no.
Oh,
certainly not.
No. But I mean, like, I think versions of White and Black in particular, kind of, because it was like a thing that came out long after the PS had already come out, so it's classed as like a.
And
you've played a little bit of that. Haven't you?
I made the start on that one, but what made me strongly think they were real is those cartridges in particular have like infrared. So I was looking at them under like sunlight and that, and as soon as I confirmed that they were real, I was like, yes.
Because we have had experience before where we bought like a DS game and it was in a seal with Nintendo seal on it, like the little Nintendo logos going around it.
Yeah.
And I bought it, I think it was Animal Crossing or something. I picked it up, I was like, oh, it's a sealed copy, I'll have that, it's nice and cheap. And I looked at the back of it and it was like copyright Alpha Dream. I was like, wait, what? And then it had like, it also mentioned like Tetris, like the Tetris company. I was like, hang on a minute. Turned out it was just a almost really good snide. The fact that it was actually sealed properly in a Nintendo seal, but it was actually a snide. As I say, there was loads of like typos and like little inconsistencies back of the box and the small print. But yeah, so you have to be careful with stuff like that, especially.
That is so weird.
Yeah, like DS bootlegs in particular got ruined at one point. Like they're almost indistinguishable if you're not careful.
Yeah, I've had a similar situation happen to me actually, where it was a gift from one of my exes, and they got me Shaman King Master of Spirit on the GBA.
Oh, blimey.
And it was like a birthday present. And I got it, and I was like, "Oh, that's amazing!" And I got as soon as I touched the box, I could tell that the cardboard was very glossy, and I was like, "Okay."
That's usually a sign with GBA.
And it looked fine, And I opened the cartridge and I saw the thing, and I was like, "Oh, that's very blurry." That sticker, but it's fine. It played fine, It was a completely working copy. Being Master of Spirit didn't actually come out here, as far as I know, in Europe.
No, I don't think it did.
I mean, the PS2 game of Shaman King is ridiculously rare in this country. And so, I was quite happy to have that. But yeah.
The only thing I ever found, because I think I've had a couple of GBA bootlegs past, just like cartridges and boot sales and stuff, is they tend to not have save ability, but they don't have batteries inside
not
them.
proper,
So it's,
not proper
I think I had a
anyway.
copy of Mario Brothers 3, like the GBA port of that, and I couldn't save it. So
Oh,
Aw.
but obviously, if it was like a Pokemon game or something, it would be basically impossible
Yeah.
to play. Because you can't play the entirety of a Pokemon game in one sitting.
Oh no, certainly not. Takes you about 2 hours just to get 2 badges if you're at a push.
So that's mostly like
That's,
on and off.
yeah.
What is it, 6 now?
Yep.
At the moment, it's sort of just bouncing back and forth between
Yeah.
Y.
It's it's Y, Crystal, Diamond,
Ultramoon.
Ultramoon, Black, White 2.
Bouncing.
most of them.
Basically, just bouncing around every Pokemon game at the moment. Or almost every gen in some capacity.
Yeah.
Who would do something like that, says me, looking at my Yakuza collection.
All right. Well, that's it from me.
Okay.
Can I go next?
Yeah, might as well.
No.
'Cause you weren't here. You weren't here
Yeah,
last week, so.
Yeah, so I mean, I've just been putting a bit more time into the Psycho collection. I managed to beat Strikers 1945 on easy mode.
Nice.
And I'm on the second game, and I've had to embarrassingly bump it down to child difficulty.
Same here.
Yeah,
I got the game in the week as well, like the same one.
Yeah.
You actually found me. You got me like a nice voucher code for
Me.
Yeah, it was NISA America,
that's
NISA
it,
Europe.
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, you got me a nice £15 off voucher, so I managed to get the game pretty cool. And,
They're quite good about that.
Yeah, I found with most of those games, I need to put it down to at the very like hardest mode, just to even like get anywhere. And all you can put like as many controls as you want. Option.
Yeah.
Do you reckon this collection's made by Hamster? Like the guys that have been doing all those like arcade archives.
It
The
really
menus are
feels
really
like
similar.
it.
The menus
Yeah.
are almost identical, aren't they? Like.
Yeah, and don't forget they did release individually on Switch. Some of them.
They did, yeah. I think all of them came out individually, but I don't think they were classed as like Hamster arcade archives.
No,
So,
but I reckon maybe like the engine that they run on is either open source or they've licensed it to them, because I think it's the same.
It's identical as far as I can tell.
Yeah, but I'm on the final boss on Strikers 2 now.
Okay.
I find Strikers 2 quite a bit harder than the new first Strikers game, if you can believe that. It just seems everything has more health. But yeah, I've been playing that, and I've been playing a lot of La Mulana.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's been a mission.
Didn't you get the physical version? That's what both games on it.
Yeah, the double pack on the Switch. Yeah. So that's great. Like, I love La Mulana. It's a fantastic Metroidvania, but it's the hardest that I've ever played. I've been at it for
the Metroidvania, but it's also a bit like Spelunker in a way, isn't it? Kind of.
It has the aesthetics of that. Yeah. It's not random or anything like that. But it's got very old school stylings. It was a love letter to MSX games, and sometimes you're finding what you need to progress, or even knowing where you need to go to progress can take you all day. I saw a YouTube video of someone who said he completed without a guide, and it took him 260 hours.
Oh my God.
Without looking up anything. And the second game is apparently longer. So I'm near the end of that. But you think, I've got most of the stuff now. It must get easier to not get lost. And it isn't. It's just as hard. So yeah, it's not so much a difficult game in terms of like enemies are hard or anything like that. It's just knowing what to do. But it's very good. And I've been playing Command and Conquer, the remake that just came out.
Oh, I was just watching Digital Foundry's video about that earlier, actually. That looks amazing.
It's fantastic. You know, like, I mean, I don't know how many people are like big Command and Conquer fans here, but I rather like the early ones. I played quite a lot of them, quite a lot of it back in the old days. And yeah, this is a fantastic collection. It's not just an upscale. They've redrawn all of the assets. You know,
and it's still like pixel art, isn't it? But it's like higher res pixel art, so it's like really nicely done.
They've kept the aesthetic while rendering it up to 4K from scratch, and you can press spacebar to switch on the fly, which is really cool.
Like Wonder Boy.
And there's like loads of quality of life improvements to make the actual strategy element better without ruining the core balance of the game. And like I say, the AI upscaling on the FMVs, considering how low quality they were, they're really good. Like, you know, it's not perfect, but it's as perfect as you could ever have got. They ain't got the masters anymore, so you know.
I thought that was quite amazing how they pulled that off, actually.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about such a low resolution those original videos were, and it had no kind of filtering on it at all. So it was like a raw pixel sort of image, and yeah, it does not. I've played upscale versions of the original Command & Conquer. It's unwatchable. Those videos at a high res.
They had like really thick scan lines going through them as well, didn't they?
Yeah, even back then they had to really to make it not look at
imitation of these, I suppose, wasn't it? Like,
yeah.
There were lower frame rates as well, if I remember rightly. I think the new FMVs they actually get them somehow. Like,
it's got an interpolation type thing going on, and sometimes it looks a bit weird, but. Sometimes it looks weird in a lot of motion, but there ain't a lot of motion in those cutscenes, so it's not too bad. I haven't touched Red Alert yet. I've only really been doing the original game at the moment, but I hear that's just as good, if not better. So you know, I assume it would be. So yeah, I think that's about it. I've got my Neo Geo arcade stick coming tomorrow, and hopefully I can talk about that down the line.
Oh, nice.
So yeah. Oh, also, speaking of that, you know, you said you had a game where it was sealed, but there was no game in it.
Oh,
that's happened. That's happened to me, and Murry Curry was there when that happened to me as well.
Oh, really?
Which one was that?
Do you remember when you were working part time in Game Station?
Yeah.
And I got Xeno Saga 2, and I got that 3D SNK fighting game. What was it called? Maximum Impact.
Oh yes.
The Maximum Impact was completely sealed, and I unsealed it. No game inside, and I was bricking it because I was like, they're not going to take that back. They're going to think I just stole it. But because you were working there, you managed to smooth it over and get it returned for me. So yes,
that's a relief.
Yeah, big relief. It wasn't very expensive, and it wasn't very good, to be fair. But
it's only Maximum Impact.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a good SNK game. Anyway, that's what I've been playing.
That actually happened to me too. Over a decade ago, I ordered Crazy Taxi, the PSP one. I forget what it's called. I ordered it from Amazon, and I ordered a new copy. And when it got here, the seal was actually broken and the UMD was missing.
That definitely got thieved then, because I think that was the case. That Switch game, that Mario and Sonic Switch game I bought, was the same case. Like the seal was mostly cracked except for the little corner, so someone's clearly like. Also, there was a crack in the case, so that tells you something in there.
Mine was mint, so I assume it was a manufacturing error.
It might have been, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, thankfully, when it happened to me, I was able to get a free replacement.
Oh, that's nice.
Well, not really replacement, because I actually still have the empty case.
Well, you got to have the game for it to be replaced in the first place, so...
Yeah, but like, I did get a new copy of a game in a sealed case, and I've been having a hard time getting rid of the case. Nobody wants to take it.
You said my PSP case.
First world gaming problems.
Yeah, nobody thinks that they can just... Nobody thinks about how they can take the case and then they can just order a cheap single UMD from eBay or something and put it in there.
Anyway, yeah, that's all that I've been playing.
I could go next if you want.
I think you could.
Okay, cool.
That's good.
Nice one. So I started playing Bloodstained again. I've still got the Switch version of that. And the reason I am playing that is because there's an update that's come out on every other platform, but it's not on the Switch yet because of reasons. they just have a lot of trouble with the Switch version of Bloodstained. It's going to be where you play as Zangetsu, which is the samurai character voiced by
David Hayter.
David Hayter. I was reading it up, and like for some weird reason, even if you've completed the game, like to get him, you have to complete the game like with the good ending, but you have to do it again after the updates come out. And I basically started my second playthrough on the harder difficulty, and I remembered I was only about halfway through the game, so I was trying to just sort of bash on with that. And I'm really like the hard mode on these Castlevania games. They're not usually that sort of bad. There's actually 2 additional difficulties in this one. There's like harder than Nightmare, and yeah, for the most part, it was just like it is in the earlier Igavania games, where it's just slightly harder, not really that much difference. But in this one, there's been a few surprises that I did not expect. Like when you fight Zangetsu the second time in the story, he now has this one-hit kill insta move.
Oh, brilliant!
And I was like, "Oh, that's new."
Thanks for warning me.
Yeah, I got all like sort of smug because sort of 100% in the game the first time round. So I came in with like these really powerful shards, and I was just going through the game pretty smoothly. And then he just pulls this move out. After about 6 or 7 goes, I'm like, right, game FAQs, what's going on?
I bet like back when he was making Igavania games, it's like Konami's just like no instant kill moves.
Well, guess what else I'm now stuck on, because I've done that, and I've got through most of the game. I'm now getting killed by Iga himself.
He just self-inserted himself, did he?
Yeah.
That was one of the stretch goals. It was like you have to fight Iga. He's wearing like an Alucard cape, and he has all kinds of crazy Castlevania moves.
Nice.
And there's a really good video out there of him recording the lines of him like in the booth having a lot of fun doing it. He's really, really, really hard. So I'm trying to do that. And so I'm playing that again, having fun with it, but the Switch version does have some issues. It's still not quite up to scratch. So I do want to get a copy on the PS4 as much as I can. I nearly said 2 then.
Well, I'll keep my ear to the ground, because it might be good for you to have that, so you can we could stream it or something.
Yeah, that I'd really like to stream.
I mean, at push, I can just lend you my PS4 version, so.
Nice one. Yeah, I mean, I really wish I could jump on that deal that you did when you got your PS4 copy. You got it for like £13 or something.
Yeah.
That's a good price. I've been playing that, a bit more Elder Scrolls Blades. That's been feeling a little less grindy, but still kind of grindy. And then other than that, I've been playing. I finally finished Yakuza 6 the day before I streamed it yesterday. Because we wanted to stream it, but I sort of said, yeah, we'll do that. And then I was like, oh yeah, we haven't finished the story. So we sort of knuckled down and finished that off. And yeah, oh man, 6 has got one hell of a story.
I very enjoyed that stream last night. So
that went really well.
That was a great stream. I was watching it too.
Oh, cheers, guys. Yeah, no, that was Ron.
I feel like that's got to be a little thing now, isn't it? Like you were playing Space Harrier, it was just like, oh, you got to get to the final boss, and it's just game over instantly.
I'm glad we could have showcased how irritating that AI is, because that does that all the time.
Is it like that?
Got a good hand, they just detect you.
Do all the Mahjong mini games do that, or is it just
pretty much?
Right.
Takes a very long time to finish the Mahjong portion of Yakuza stuff, yeah.
Right, but when you were talking to the characters that are playing that you go against, they were going, oh, as you can tell, we're not very good at Mahjong. It was like,
yeah, I know. So
we're not very good at being honest and decent at it, maybe.
They're all hustlers.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. So yeah, all I can say about Yakuza 6 is, first of all, just do not play this game unless you played the others, because I had the opportunity of doing that. I bought the game last year, and that was before I played. At that point, I didn't play 3, 4, or 5, and I stopped myself, because 6 does have a thing where there's like an option to, I think it's called. No, it's at the start of the game. You get like a thing that gives you a rundown of every game, but compared to actually experiencing each one yourself, it just doesn't compare.
No,
so So I wanted to do that, and obviously last year we still didn't know that we were going to get the HD remastered collection. I knew that they'd come out in Japan, but I knew that 5 came out quite a while ago. And I just thought, well, I think we're going to get them because of how they've been treating us, like with Yakuza. They've actually been sort of given us almost everything now. So I sort of knew it was coming, but I didn't know when. So I was just holding on to this game that I really wanted to finish off. So yeah, I was really glad that I got the opportunity to, and because I've experienced the games, it made the story even that more sort of impactful at the end. And,
Yeah, of course.
Any Yakuza game, any Yakuza fans who haven't yet finished the story, I'll just say keep a box of tissues handy. For crying.
I was going to say, after last night's stream.
For wiping your bum.
Yeah, unless you're going to the internet cafe, that is. In which case, keep a box of tissues handy. Yeah, oh man, it's such a good way of wrapping up the Kiryu saga, basically. Because as we already know that 7 basically doesn't have him as a protagonist or anything like that. So they've wrapped up his story and they've done it in a very nice way.
I'm glad they didn't run it to death.
Yeah, although
there are 6 games.
6 games. A couple
I guess.
Of, like remakes of 2 of retellings of 2 of them. Dead Soul.
Not to mention, there's that prequel.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. 7 games.
And then obviously we didn't get the 2 samurai ones either.
Shooting games, yeah.
No, I guess not.
So yeah,
maybe one day.
Kiryu's had plenty of outings. Basically, he's
been around the block.
He's also, I believe, he's also 48 years old in Yakuza 6. So he's got to retire sometime.
I thought he was 50. So I knew he was around that mark.
Okay.
Nah, I did the math. I thought he was 52.
Okay.
But he's not. Majima is in his 50s.
Yeah, he's a little bit older, yeah.
Doesn't act like it.
Wait, 12?
So yeah,
but it's Japan, they got the Fountain of Youth over there.
5CM Prince has just loaded up Yakuza 6 as I speak. Let me guess, Mahjong?
Yeah, Mahjong.
Yeah, bloody Mahjong.
If you hear screaming in anguish, we know.
If you get bronze, just shout wrong.
Yeah, we'll know.
So yeah, that's what I've been playing this week, other than, just logging on to ESO but not really doing much on there. And, yeah, so I would say pretty much mostly Bloodstained and Yakuza 6 with a smidgen of Blades. And it's been good stuff. And obviously, apart from stuff that we streamed, but there's no real point going into that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Apart from just to very quickly mention that I want to wrap up Trover Saves the Universe because we're going to stop. Me and 5CM Prince, we're going to stop streaming, and I can't even do podcasts for a little while after this, which is kind of sad actually because these have been really fun to get back into. So,
yeah.
It's not going to be the same without you.
I know. What are you going to do without me? Fail.
I'll do my best to fill in for you.
Well, I have this box of tissues.
So yeah, basically, with Trover, that was a weird game because it started off. I just felt like it kind of wasn't really gelling with me, and I think that was the same on the stream. It kind of interest died out with it. I think it's a game that starts quite well, and then when you get to around about the second level, it kind of drops a bit. And so I wanted to sort of do something this week for VR stream because that's what we've been doing. So I thought, okay, I'll try and carry on with this game. And then the second part of it that we did actually sort of picked back up again. I really enjoyed it. Some new abilities came in and just we found some funny stuff to do, like doing the stupid paper baskets. I spent so long doing that.
You're almost there. You almost got.
I spent so long on that stream just putting paper. Basically, you get there's like a bin with a basketball hoop over it in your little sort of TARDIS thing, and you can sort of use your head tracking and the R2 button to sort of throw, like, you don't actually pick up the paper, you just sort of nudge it in a direction, and you try and get it in the hoop. And there's a trophy for doing it 100 times. And the description for the trophy is, seriously, how long did that take you? So yeah, basically, I want to try and squeeze one more stream where I just finish that off, because we got right to the end of that. And
Get those 100 hoops.
yeah, and get the 100 hoops.
And I want to do a super cut where I cut every single hoop. Because I'm pretty sure they're all on the stream, so...
Yeah, they are so far, yeah.
Just cut them all together.
Okay. So yeah, I want to try and do that just before we completely finish, because it's the kind of thing I would hate to come back to months down the line and sort of try and remember what the hell I was doing. So yeah. That's me.
Yeah, whether you want to do that either tomorrow or Wednesday is up to you, man.
Either way is fine. Yeah, I don't mind. We'll discuss that, but that'll be another stream coming up. Because the Yakuza one was supposed to be the last one technically from us for a while. Probably a few months, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I've been playing. It's been a fun week.
Okay, I guess I'll go next if that's cool.
Yep.
As you can tell, I've been playing quite a lot of stuff this week, thanks to that bundle.
Oh, such a good bundle.
Yeah,
yeah, I still gotta buy that
bundle for racial justice and equality. Basically, at the moment, they have raised about $2.5 million, and their goal now they just keep upping their goal because they keep smashing it constantly. So now their goal is 5 million, and I think the bundle's on another week. Yeah, 7 days.
She got robbed. That was
one. Let's have a little wrong counter. So that's the first one. This bundle's available for another 7 days. I'm going to just say that two absolute standout games. Taco Tom 2, absolutely love it. It's just hilarious and just weird, and the actual gameplay loop of it, where you're just basically moving back and forth with a little taco man. You just have to get one of all 5 ingredients, like meat, lettuce, cheese, and all that. You have to just get 5, one of each one of those things. So, kind of thing. Doesn't matter what order you get them in, as long as you only get one of each. And the story is just absolutely ridiculous. From what I've seen of screenshots, it gets crazier. In fact, the description on the website says a story about cannibalism. So, looking forward to seeing where... I think I'm going to end up streaming more of this game, maybe because I'm thinking of doing another stream about this bundle on the last day, just to be like as a last last push for it, because the last one did really well actually, and there's still... I've just spent most of the week just downloading the games and trying them out and going, oh my god, this is actually amazing. What is this weird thing? What is this game where you like squish cats? What the hell? It's just like
what was going on with that?
Yeah, I don't know what that was. The other highlight game I have to say for me was this one called Perfect Park. Just like kind of like a Trackmania thing, but also Lunar Lander.
Oh, I loved that.
It's so fun. It just controls the control of it is just so fun to just like and you're just tilting ever so slightly and pushing back and forth just to like control into.
Is that game that's a web browser game as well?
I think it is also a web browser game. Yeah. I think it runs in Unity or something like that. But yeah, I absolutely love that one. There's tons of games on there. Obviously, I played quite a few on the stream, but I've also been playing other stuff. Probably play when I do another stream. I think it'll probably be on Sunday, because I think that's the closest end that I can get, because I get Sunday. So I'll probably do a stream on Sunday for it.
Cool.
And I've also been playing a lot of Star Wars Pinball on the Switch, because I picked that up on the game collection for £12.
Yes,
because
mine's in the post.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think I sold you on it. Basically, I've been in a real pinball mood recently, thanks to those Sega Saturn ones that I was playing a couple of weeks ago, like Necronomicon. And yeah, that deal came up for the Star Wars Pinball game. It's by the Pinball FX developers, they've got quite a lot of pinball tables you can buy individually on Switch. Tester ones, I think there's Skyrim one and do stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think they also
Yeah,
did
I
stuff
think-
like Family Guy and stuff like that. But they've got loads of tables on there, and basically the Star Wars pinball is just like it's 19 tables.
Yeah.
A lot. It's a lot of Star Wars pinball tables. Like, funnily enough, they've got tables for every original film, like all the original trilogy. They've got tables for. I think this came out before the last Star Wars film. So they've got one for like Rogue One. They've got one for
Solo.
Both the previous trilogy ones. The only films that don't seem to have tables dedicated to them is the prequel trilogy, which I thought was quite funny.
Hilarious.
There's like one that has Darth Maul on the artwork, but that's about it. Like,
I mean, even Rebels has a table, doesn't it?
yeah, there's a Star Wars Rebels cartoon table
that
and a Clone
PG
Wars one as
cartoon,
well.
right?
Yeah, there's a Clone Wars table as well. Obviously, I'm kind of a casual Star Wars fan. I still haven't actually watched quite a few of the recent films. I didn't catch up with them. Probably chuck them on Disney Plus or something. But I've never really been like super invested in the series. I mainly bought this ball, and I'm really glad I did, especially since it's got that like Tate, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Great mode thing, and obviously I've got that monitor up in my gaming room that comes with Tate. So I've been up there most of the week playing that. One thing that's really nice about the Pinball FX stuff and Star Wars Pinball as well is all the community stuff they do on there. They kind of do like weekly challenges where you go online and you other people's scores, like
Cool.
within 2 minutes, and I think by the end of it you get like a rating based on how high on the leaderboards you get based on all the challenges. And there's like a career mode as well where each mission like 3 targets to hit. There's like all different modes. Like there's one that's like distance score, so it's like the most of the table you've explored within a certain amount of time. Some of the this is a really nerdy Star Wars thing, but some of the challenges are done in parsecs.
Wow.
So it's like, oh, you have to beat this challenge in 300 parsecs or something like that.
I'm going to one up the nerdiness here because a parsec isn't a measurement of speed; it's a measurement of distance.
Oh, okay. So I'm not sure how that really works then, because well, I was looking at the parsec timer. It's like it seems to be like 1 every seconds. I wasn't really sure, but maybe you're right. It's like a distance. Maybe it's the distance of the ball rather than actual time. And that's a really good point. That's probably what it is then.
Yeah.
That tells you that tells you how casual of a Star Wars person I am. I only vaguely knew what it even parsecs is.
Yeah, like, you probably wouldn't be mistaken for thinking it's any old sci-fi term, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I've been really enjoying that game. Kind of wish there was more music. Like it feels like there's only 3 songs in the entire game. It's just the usual 3 songs you think of when you think of Star Wars. It's the main one theme, the Darth Vader theme, and like the cantina.
Oh, well, the cantina's good.
Oh, that's the Han Solo table. That one's free. There's also a really good droids level, which is based on C-3PO and R2-D2, and there's
we're going to say it's based on the Droids cartoon. Oh god,
that'd be funny. So the wonky 2D characters. But there's a challenge in that one where C-3PO just for some reason inexplicably explodes everywhere, and then you end up using his head as the pinball, and you're just knocking his head around, and he's like. He's like slagging you off while you're doing it. Oh, what are you doing to me? There's loads of really nice touches to it because they're kind of a mix of like, they're not real pinball tables. They're not based on actual pinball tables that exist, but they're they feel realistic, but they're also fantasy. They're kind of somewhere in between. Like there will be characters literally jumping around on the table sometimes, running across the table. And there's one table where when you lock a ball, the character grabs the ball and throws it in the little hatch, which I think is adorable. But they're actually just walking around on the table like little people walking around. But at the same time, every single thing that's on the table sounds and feels like it's like an actual pinball table. Like you can actually hear all the little mechanics of it going,
that's
and all
cool.
that kind of stuff. And there'll be like there's sort of like little mini. My favourite pinball tables are the ones that have got a pinball table within the pinball table that you have to access, like a little tiny pinball table. And there's one where you actually have like a little TIE fighter battle, and you're actually hitting all these little, like the little spaceships. And it's so cool.
Is that when it like becomes Gallagher or something? One of the mini games.
Kind of, yeah. But there's also there is a table. I think it's for A New Hope, the first film. And it has like a little mini table within the table that is just like a little game where you're hitting all the spaceships with the pinball. Like this little baby table. It's just like, oh, great. I love this. It's probably one of the best pinball games I've played in a long time. Like just the amount of content in it and different like things that up as you're playing it. Line leaderboard stuff. There's a lot of stuff to keep you coming back to it. They give you plenty of variants, and there are, as you said, there's like mini games within them where there's even like a lightsaber duel with Darth Vader.
It's a bit like Star Wars Arcade, isn't it?
It really plays like it. Yeah, it plays almost exactly like that game did. A little bit, maybe a little bit clunkier than that actually. And the A button, I think. Yeah, I've been really enjoying that. Other than the usual stuff, like Asphalt and all that, that's basically what I've been playing.
Cool.
Awesome.
I shall go.
Sure.
Hasn't been that busy of a week, but I've been playing 51 worldwide games.
Not Animal Crossing. What is this?
Oh, of course, I've been playing Animal Crossing. Don't be silly.
I was waiting for someone to say they were playing Clubhouse games.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
I don't have it, so I can't say I was.
I'd be getting ronned on that right now if I had that.
You can get wronged on the go.
The whole presentation of it, apart from like having really cheesy intros, as it were, to each game, each game works out really well. Sort of like card games, and like it takes you like through how to play it, and
that's good. They actually teach you the games.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I'm gonna need
that. Some games that don't really need like introductions, like bowling and.
I'm not sure.
Shut up, Alexa.
I don't know what that was.
Oh dear.
Alexa, what games were you playing?
Bowling, darts, and what was the other one which you get a bit physical? I can't remember exact game it was.
Motion controls, aren't they?
Yeah, and they work a lot better than like Wii Bowling on Wii Sports on the Wii.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying the bowling is better than Wii Bowling?
Yeah.
Those fighting words.
Those are fighting words. Well, I haven't played it yet, so I can't judge. But that actually makes me a little excited because I love Wii Bowling.
Yeah. The only like main difference between Wii Sports Bowling and the 51 worldwide games, I know it's Clubhouse games elsewhere in the world, is that you had to relearn how to throw the ball. Like, as you like swing your remote back and let go of the B button as soon as like you're about to throw the ball. In 51 games, you had to keep holding the button all the way through, which intense. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So it's ever so slightly different, so it's going to take some getting used to, I suppose, if you've been Wii Bowling.
Yeah,
it already sounds weird to me because I'm so used to the fact that you have to let go of the ball in order to let it go free.
Yeah, same with the darts. Like, you're supposed to like let go, as it were, of the button, but no, you have to keep holding on. Well, I suppose it is like part of the design, because obviously if you let go of like something you're throwing, you might like accidentally launch it, as it were.
I was just thinking that. Maybe that's it. Because I suppose Nintendo thinks you can't really trust everyone to actually use the wrist strap on the Joy-Cons.
Yeah, I think they learned that.
We don't want a repeat of the Wii. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because you give people some safety guidelines doesn't mean they'll actually be smart and follow them.
Yeah. Well, you do get like the please make sure your wrist strap is attached warning before every game like that. So
Yeah.
obviously I was all prepared and everything. So
That won't stop me because I can't read.
So,
I
do you
can
have
read, but I choose not to.
do you have any favourite games on the collection? Anything that really sticks out?
I wouldn't say it's favourite, but I know 5CM Prince is playing at the moment, Mahjong. And sort of like I'm trying to learn how to play that, and that's working out really well. And Hanafuda.
Oh, yes.
I'd say,
nice.
Koi Koi.
Mhm.
That I played that straight away and pretty much got it. Like it does explain it well, rather than just like saying, "Oh, so you must have that to that and this."
I'm glad it doesn't just fling you into some of the more complicated games. Like
Yeah.
tries to teach. Oh, actually.
And I'm actually.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was just say Shogi is a game that has my interest on there because there aren't really ways to play that digitally, so I want to give that a bash.
Yeah.
I hate Shogi so much.
Yeah.
I still haven't played it on 51 games yet, but yeah, I've played it on Yakuza 0, and yeah, it's.
Did you notice on Zero, the AI once again, you can pick the "Go easy on me" option, and they're still like, "Yeah, mastermind," and they just destroy you. Yeah, it's like, "Go easy on me."
I'm reading your inputs.
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit. I was really excited when I first saw that because it looked like it had Go on there, and that's a game I really want on the Switch. And I was really excited because I saw it, and then I looked into it, and it's actually just Go Moku, which is just like a sort of Connect 5 kind of thing, which is like a sort of,
weird.
you know, it's unfortunate. I would like to have had the full Go because you've got like 2 versions of Shogi on there, you know,
That's surprising.
and not at all Go, which is like the biggest game in Japan, like
I'm
board
really
game.
surprised that's not on there.
Yeah, I suppose the closest one is Renegade.
Oh yeah, but there is Go Moku though. That is essentially a Go board, but
Yeah.
it's not the same kind of game.
One interesting feature of that, if you're playing on a table, it knows that the console is flat. But if you was to sort of up the console, as it were, do a little table flip, the pieces on the board will actually fall down.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
You know what? That's kind of a callback to. Do you remember when they first revealed the Wii U?
Yeah.
They actually showed that exact thing happening, and then the game, like, they just inexplicably never released a game that lets you do that. And now they've finally done it a whole generation later.
That was
Game Explain made a video pointing that out.
Yeah.
What was it? I think it was 6 or 7 years. No, it must have been 2012. So 8 years ago yesterday, that piece of footage was revealed to the world because that's when that was when the Wii U was revealed.
Oh yeah.
And everyone was like, "Oh, look at this! What is this?
Yeah.
What is it? Is it a new console? Is it an add-on? Help!"
Yeah. I honestly thought it was an add-on for the Wii at the time, but yeah, it turned out that wasn't the case.
No.
Vex.
I feel
I'm
like
actually kind of amazed that I immediately noticed that it was a console.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of forgotten. Like, I feel bad because I like the Wii U, but I kind of forget it exists a lot of the time, unfortunately. And
You know what?
I love it.
I often forget too, even though I still have my Wii U.
Mine's right here, so I have no excuse.
Yeah, mine is literally next to my PS3, my Switch.
I'm a huge fan of the Wii U. I think it was very sorely underrated. I really like the Wii U.
Yeah, bad marketing.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that the Switch has like bounced Nintendo back into the sort of frame that were.
Yeah,
it's a contender for my favorite console of all time.
Same here,
I'm
honestly.
glad that the I'm just glad that the Switch is actually portable, unlike
Yeah.
the Wii U, where the gamepad does not work if you're 30 feet away from the console.
Yeah.
Or a
okay.
foot away from the console half the time.
Yeah.
And since there's a lot of games like Splatoon, for example, where you need to make use of the gamepad screen, those games can't be played portably at all. Unlike Splatoon 2, which will easily work in handheld mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they definitely got it right with the Switch, I reckon.
Yeah.
Which feels like what the Wii U concept was trying to be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
It was like a 1.5, wasn't it? You know?
it was like a
Yeah.
stepping stone towards.
It's the tablet concept, but done in a smarter way.
Yeah,
One that's more practical.
definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing like that for 1 games. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Sweet.
not. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to get through, isn't there?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a lot of games.
I'm looking forward to grabbing that at some point.
Me too.
A lot more games than I remember from Mario's Fundamentals.
Mhm. That's
Didn't that have Oh, that had Go Fish in it, didn't it?
It did. It also
Go Fish!
it also had Backgammon. I
Yeah.
remember that one. So that's why Backgammon is one of the games I'm looking forward to playing if I ever get Clubhouse games.
It
That-
just won't have Mario speaking all over it.
No, I won't have Mario. That's fine. But and I imagine I'm looking forward to Hanafuda on that as well, which I imagine a lot of people are because Hanafuda has such a long history with Nintendo.
Yeah.
of
Or
course.
rather, Nintendo has such a long history with Hanafuda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they actually do make his point saying, "Oh, but Nintendo's been around longer than you think." It's like, yes, I know, and pretty much
Yeah.
any big Nintendo fan knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those who
I'm
did,
sure there's still a lot of people here who would be shocked.
Yeah. I mean, in Japan, it's probably just common knowledge anyway,
yeah,
because people probably have Nintendo toys from before they were doing, when they had like those cast iron toys and stuff.
yeah.
So,
Mhm.
yeah.
I know there's a bit on there. It's like, oh, did you know we had love hotels?
Tell me more.
Did you know we made Pong machines before we made the NES?
I mean, everyone
TV
did.
Game 6 and TV Game 12.
Yeah.
I
And
imagine there's a lot of children, especially, who probably think Nintendo invented video games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Did you know that we made Mario?
I did not
Did
actually.
you know Mario 2 in Japan was called Doki Doki Panic?
I thought Nichibutsu invented Mario.
What have you been
Did
playing,
you-
Elk?
I've been playing a lot of Phantasy Star Online too.
I'm totally not jealous.
Yeah. Once again, I apologize that you guys can't play it yet. I'm very much looking forward to this game being a lot more accessible worldwide.
Mm.
Yeah, because it'll open up
Just
how
like
many
I'm
people are
also-
on it.
Just like I'm also looking forward to people being more social in that game, because ironically, for an online game, people don't talk much.
Oh. Okay.
A lot of you people used to playing Phantasy Star Online by themselves in recent years.
Yeah, true.
That and I imagine a lot of people, because it's cross-compatible with Xbox One, a lot of people probably can't voice or text chat on Xbox One.
Mm.
And I haven't been able to and I have at the same time though, I haven't heard a lot of people doing voice chat on PSO2 either. And I don't know if that's a setting that I have off at the moment that I need to fix.
Does it have, in the original Phantasy Star Online, you can make those little emotes. Can you do that in this?
You can make
Yes,
your
you
own.
can.
Hey,
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I
Brilliant.
love
And-
that feature.
You can make your own emotes in PSO2. I still have to
It's
come
all
up
going to
with
be meme
ideas.
culture now, isn't it?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, there's gonna be. I'm sure someone's made a Poggers emote.
Probably.
I know.
So how is it? How's the game?
Oh, it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. Grinding in that game does not feel like a grind at all. It's just too much fun. exploring, even if I'm by myself, just looking for quests to get me even more experience than if I was grinding without them. Of course, at the same time, activating the quest is a little annoying because when you're in the lobby, there's a lot of lag because of all the players everywhere. I guess it doesn't happen when you're in the getaway ship, the gateway ship. I mean, or when you're in the action zones for some reason. Even if there's a lot of people, but in the lobbies, yeah, there's a lot of moments where it just pauses for a couple seconds, and then things run at lower frame rates. That, and right now there's this wedding event going on in the game where you can get some scratch tickets to earn some wedding themed outfits. And while you're in the lobby during this event, it plays this annoying wedding march themed song the entire time.
What, just on loop.
That's going to be the annoying thing when we play the game eventually, is that we are going to have missed some of the events.
Unless they move around.
I mean, they might bring it back, but
I'm sure they will, but you probably won't get it in time for later this June when they're likely to do an event for Sonic's anniversary.
I mean,
there are ways to play it over here, just a bit of jumping.
Yeah.
And you can't.
Sorry.
You can jump through those hoops, but still, I mean, I don't know if there's limits to when you have to do that to get the game running. Whereas if you actually live in a country where the game is officially live, so
yeah, I mean,
you go on. What were you gonna say?
I was just saying we might have our own servers anyway, so when it does come out here, so
that's why it's delayed.
Yeah, that's true, but I would like for Europe and North America to at least have joined servers.
Because
that's still part of what's considered the Western world.
Yeah, that's the problem with ESO, Elder Scrolls Online. You have the European mega server and the North American mega server, and you had to pick one. And if you can't even take your European character into the American server, you have to start a whole new character. It's really dumb. I don't know why they've done that.
Yeah, that's weird.
And then, of course, it might be that big sea between them, between the places.
And then on top of that, in PSO2, and I think this was also in the original PSO as well, there's different ships that you log into where everything's the same. But it's essentially different servers to like offload the large player base to various servers to keep things going.
Okay.
But when you make a character in one ship, you can't use that character in another.
Yeah.
Is it set in the same universe as the original Phantasy Star Online and 3 and all that?
Wait, but 3? Are you talking about Phantasy Star 3, the Mega Drive?
No, PSO 1, PSO 2, and PSO 3.
Oh, the original
3, the card one.
You're thinking of the different episodes, right?
Yes, episode 1. Yeah, one was a card game, and yeah.
I like to think it is, but I don't know too much about the overarching story, so I can't really say what kind of connections there might be. But I do remember that in Japan they've had a PSO Legacy event where people could explore the original the lobby areas from the original Fantasy.
Oh,
nice.
Cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
I like that.
Yeah, and it's all lovingly low poly, just like it was on Dreamcast.
Brilliant. I hope it's got the music as well.
Yeah.
God damn, I love that lobby music.
Yeah.
But I know right now you can buy some legacy costumes from the original game.
Ooh, I'm probably going to play a faux numerel when I play, so I like those. Or the rare games where I like playing a mage.
I'm gonna make another character soon. I'm not sure what class, but I've already decided it's gonna be a Dooman, just because Dooman kind of sounds like the character Doonan Newt from Appleseed.
Yeah.
And then besides that, I've played more of the TurboGrafx 16 Mini.
Nice.
I started playing Newtopia.
Oh yeah, I like that.
So yeah, I like that game too. It's one of the games that I remember my uncle had when I played his TurboGrafx at his house when I was a little kid. Didn't really know what the hell I was doing back then, of course, because I was a little kid and I didn't really pay attention to anything that was going on. You ever? I think Peanut Butter Gamer actually explained this issue really well in one of his videos when he reviewed the Link's Awakening remake on the Switch, where he was talking about when he played the original and he could only get so far because at some point, even though the game straight up tells you where you're supposed to go and what you're supposed to do, he's just not paying attention the whole time, and then suddenly the owl who's telling him everything, he stops talking and he's like, wait, what was I supposed to do again?
Oh yeah, that happens to me all the time.
Yeah, I had that issue with so many games as a kid, including Newtopia.
Doesn't help that Newtopia is mega stingy with heart drops in that game.
It is. Newtopia is surprisingly stingy when it comes to enemies dropping any items, really.
Yeah.
Not just the hearts especially, but there's so little gold.
Yeah.
And then to just get one medicinal vial in that game, it costs 200 gold.
Yep. They get
But
more
it takes
expensive.
forever. They get more expensive?
Yeah, later on they're like 800.
Oh my gosh.
Have fun.
Oh, I'm crying. At least I managed to mess around and get through the first dungeon eventually. Damn, it's so annoying because not only are the enemies stingy with item drops, but they move around. Some of them move around very erratically, and it's hard to hit them.
Yep. Yeah. For those who don't know, it's basically a Zelda 1 clone in every way. Pretty much in every way. It's not subtle.
Yeah, Utopia definitely takes after the original Legend of Zelda, especially. It's important to remember that much like the Mega Drive, even though this is a 16-bit console, it was originally supposed to compete with the Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES.
Yeah.
So Newtopia is one of those early games that was designed to be more like something on the NES, where it showed like, hey, here's this kind of game that you know on the NES, except it's better here.
It looks better.
Has more graphics.
Yep.
Yeah, and then the
Slightly
Super
more
Nintendo
graphics.
Yep, and then the Super Nintendo comes out and eats their lunch. Except in Japan, where the PC Engine outsold the Super Famicom by quite a lot.
Really?
Oh, it was like
Yeah,
a close
the
second
market
place,
leader.
but yeah, they were market leader for quite a while.
The PC Engine, like the Sega Saturn, was only a commercial flop everywhere except for Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like it didn't keep its lead, I don't think, but it did have a market share lead for a little while, like the Mega Drive did here.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's a bit more like where the Mega Drive had the largest market share for a very short time, and then SNES won out in the long run. And I think it's a thing.
Here in North America,
in the case of like the Super Famicom, I think it just outlived it because they were still making games for that until 90.
The Super Nintendo's the Super Famicom's last game was 2000 actually.
Fire Emblem,
wasn't it? Oh wow, yeah.
No, it wasn't a Fire Emblem game. It was I forget the name of it, but it was from HAL Laboratory. It was
was it that
it was
a click adventure game?
It was a visual novel game, which I believe was
one.
a remake of a game they released on the Famicom.
That's it.
And I think
Metal Slayer.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that came out as a Satellaview game.
Because even during like the 32-bit era, the Super Famicom was like outselling the PlayStation. It dominated and
that's true.
Such a long time.
Yeah, same deal with the Genesis too. That was still selling quite a lot in North America in the late 90s. That's why Sega of America CEO Tom Kalinske wanted Sega of Japan to help them keep supporting the Genesis in North America, even with the Saturn out, and Sega Japan said no.
So I take you've been enjoying the TurboGrafx 16 Mini.
Yeah, I've been enjoying it quite a bit. So I've been playing a couple more games that I hadn't played before. So like I finally started with Castlevania Rondo of Blood.
Nice.
And I didn't get too far in the game. The game's a lot harder than I expected it to be.
Yeah, it is rather difficult.
It's those revenge moves they like doing on you at the end. Every boss.
Yeah.
Oh, I hadn't even gotten past the well, I did beat the first boss, but I didn't get too far after that so far. Have yet to see the second boss. I don't remember what it is actually.
I won't say in case you want to find out on your own. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's already already think I know it's a werewolf. But anyway. And I also started with Ease Book 1 and 2 on the TurboGrafx.
I love that.
Yes.
Which would be my first time playing the TurboGrafx version of the game anyway.
It was mine too when the Mini came out.
Oh, I think I remember playing that on. I think it was Tom's Wii U.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was before your little man was born. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the version. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm familiar with. I love that version.
That's the first time it ever came out.
That game is also on the Wii U. I think it was on the Wii too.
Yeah, I think I got it on the Wii. Yeah, and then I transferred it.
Yeah, that was it.
Right. Of course, I'm already lost in the game, so I might need a while to figure out where I'm supposed to go.
I can get lost in 2.
2 is very One's a bit annoying because you can get lost just because you didn't interact with one NPC that isn't super obvious, and it stops the events moving forward. You can go to all these places, but you can't actually do the stuff there. I assume it's there, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm afraid of running into a moment like that. I know there's a lot of older games that used to do that.
A little tip with East: do not save on where there are monsters, like on a screen where there are monsters, because there is a slight way to soft lock your game doing that. Basically, when you load your game, it resets all monster positions, and you can theoretically save on a square when monsters spawn, and they will spawn on you and kill you instantly forever if you save on that.
Wow.
So be multiple saves when playing that game.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Good thing I've only been saving in town so far.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Not to mention, of course, I've been taking advantage of save states.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing to do in this game.
And would that apply to the Master System version?
I think so as well. Yeah, I think it was only ever removed on versions after the PC Engine version.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I can't imagine that happening in the later PC release, which I have on Steam.
No, it doesn't do it on that. Definitely not. In fact, I don't know if it happens on the Master System because I don't know if the Master System actually has anything but password save. So I don't think it happens.
I used to have a cart of that, and I think I remember it said something about either password save or battery save on the side. I think it might just be password actually.
I played it from start to finish on your EverDrive, and it got a bit funny in places, didn't it?
Yeah, sometimes the Master System compatibility.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a janky port, to be fair, on the Master System. To be, really.
I have never played the Master System version of that game. I might be a little curious about it.
But I can't see part 1 though.
Yeah, it is only part 1, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I remember now. That one did come out in North America, but yeah, it was just the first one. And then, last but not least, I played a little bit of Rocket League on my Switch. Because I just remembered I could play that again now that I've re-upped my online subscription.
Cool.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and that game's a lot of fun. And it's funny, when I booted up the game, I was suddenly hit with a bunch of Rick and Morty themed items to outfit
Oh,
my car
really?
with.
Oh boy.
That game and Beat Saber stuff too. That game
Huh.
has a lot. That game has a lot of crossover items that just come out of nowhere.
Yeah, I can't say I heard about them ones. I knew there was like Batman stuff in it. And like, I think that
There's a lot
car
of
was in it.
feature.
there's a lot of DLC cars, but besides that, there's also free items from outside media, stuff like toppers that you put on top of the car,
Oh, of course, yeah.
little ornaments you put on the antenna, other things like that. So for the Rick and Morty stuff, there's a Rick and a Morty antenna decoration.
Yeah.
There's a wheel that has the Rick and Morty portals on it. And there's a couple, yeah, like there's a Mr. Meeseeks topper, there's a Cromulon topper, and every time you select the Cromulon topper, it goes, "Show me what you got."
Yeah.
Of course it does. Of course it does.
It'd be weird if it didn't.
It'd be a disappointment if it didn't.
It never makes any sounds during the game. None of the toppers do.
Thankfully.
It's only when,
Yeah.
Don't get
it's only
annoying.
when it would. It's only when you select the thing.
I bet you
What
if
I
you
would
went
love
into
to
the
see,
game,
though,
everyone would have the same thing. You just hear, "Show me what you got, show me what you got, show me everywhere you go."
What I would love to see, though, I wish they have this, but apparently they don't. You can select the explosions that come out of the goal when you score a goal as well.
Oh yeah.
And I wish they had one where the Cromulon just pops out of the goal. And he's like, "You showed me what you got."
Boo, not cool. Oh, I like that show. And I like their VR games. They're very silly.
Right. Well, I guess that's
Cool.
what. I guess that's what we'll
And
be playing.
that's about everything I've played. Oh, one more thing, almost forgot
Okay.
about. I finally beat Rhythm Thief.
Oh, nice.
Okay, we both said that. Echo of oh no.
And yeah, Rhythm Thief was a lot of fun. I really liked it. Voice acting's pretty bad in the game, though. At least the English voice acting. Apparently there's French voice acting. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's selectable in the game. Makes sense to have it though, since it's based in Paris.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course there's more to the story after you beat the game, which I need to unlock later. There's 3 stories. There's one where you unlock it by A ranking all of the rhythm games, which is going to be difficult to do, but I think it's doable. And there's also stuff that you get from Street Pass, which I'm pretty sure I'll never see, because even if there was no pandemic, the odds are pretty low in 2020 that you'll be walking past a bunch of people who bring their 3DS everywhere.
Do they have to have Rhythm as well?
They do have to have Rhythm Thief as well, and they have to activate the Street Pass feature from Rhythm Thief.
Of a niche.
So
Of
even
a
at
niche.
launch, there probably weren't many people doing that.
Probably not. And even if someone does have Rhythm Thief, you can only have 8 Street Pass features from 8 different games active at one time. So if you want to register another one and you already have 8, you have to deactivate one of them.
Oh, I did not know that. That's annoying.
That happens to me.
Yeah, it's really annoying. It's really annoying for especially a game like this, which is kind of obscure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the last thing worth talking about is that I also discovered Space Channel 5 rhythm games in there.
Oh, really? Oh, nice.
Cool.
So it's got Sam Amigo in it and Space Channel 5. Nice.
Yeah, it's got
I'm gonna have to get back
Sam
into this.
Amigo. And then there's two Space Channel 5 games, and in both of them, it's when Phantom Arb, which is the main character, his name is Raphael, but he's also a thief. The thief's name is Phantom R. There's a kid there's a kid going around town who's pretending to be Phantom R. So the actual Phantom R, have to challenge him to a rhythm game.
Of course.
And that rhythm game is, of course, Space Channel 5. Where they do play Space Channel 5 music in both of them. And they're both exceptionally hard, not just because it's Space Channel 5, but you got to play with the touchpad.
Oh.
So, yeah, you swipe in a direction, you tap for Q, and you draw a circle for hey.
Wow. With Space Channel 5's timing, that game, even just with buttons, it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So,
right,
so perfect.
And it's difficult. And it's difficult to get the timing right when you have to draw a circle. It's not the only. It's not the only rhythm game in Rhythm Thief where you have to draw a circle or anything on the touchpad, really. Yeah. And there's also games in there where you have to take control of a girl, Marie, who plays a violin. And you do that by swiping left and right with this Guitar Hero style grid that comes up. And I had so much trouble with it because the arrows on that grid were really confusing. They're drawn in a very fancy, ornate type of way. So the right arrow looks like it's pointing left, and the left arrow looks like it's pointing right.
Oh.
And the minute I found that out, I passed every violin game with an A rank easily. All perfect.
She sussed that out, yeah.
But like there was in the last or the second to last chapter, there's another violin game which is really hard. Well, I mean, I say really hard, but once I figured this out, I 100%ed it, no problem. But before I figured out the arrows, I couldn't get through 5 seconds of it. I swear to God, it was bad. It was so bad.
So would you say the game's worth picking up, ultimately?
Yeah. I think if you like rhythm games, I think you'll really like this one. For one thing, the story was actually a lot of fun. Almost ruined by the bad voice acting, which makes the more dramatic moments, especially near the end, seem kind of weird. Because a lot of characters, especially Raphael, aka Phantom R, he sounds like he's really bored when he's reacting to something that's supposed to be sad or terrifying.
It's still quite expensive on Amazon.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, still 30 quid.
Huh.
Yeah.
When I picked it up, it was I picked it up years ago, and it was like £3 at the time.
Well, there is an Italian version they sell on here, and it's £16.
Oh,
so maybe it's fine. Maybe it has English still. Don't know.
Maybe, I'm not sure. Well, which reminds me, there's also the issue of the subtitles, which don't actually match the English words being spoken.
Oh, that's a pet peeve of mine in games when that happens.
Yeah. I think because the game has a French language track, the subtitles are probably written to match the French dub.
Yeah, that happened once with me, and this is just like this sort of English elitism thing. But when I got Saint Seiya on the PS2 years ago, it was like a PAL copy of the game. I loaded up the game, and in the default language was French, and I was like, "Oh no, what have I done?" And it had English. It just defaults to French because France likes Saint Seiya, and we never had it, so that it stands to reason that they were the primary platform for it.
Doesn't just let you speak the language at the start.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Weird.
Yeah, usually European games they give you a language option before you begin, but this one didn't.
Wait, it's just no, you're probably French.
Yeah, probably.
You're probably French.
That's weird. Like with Rhythm Thief, I don't know how beloved this game is in France, but I know the game does take place in Paris, France, and is deeply rooted in French culture, French arts, French history. One of the main protagonists of the game is straight up Napoleon Bonaparte.
God.
Maybe they won't like it then. I don't know.
Maybe. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's all the games I've been playing
Okay.
that are worth talking about anyway.
Ooh,
Cool.
that's what we've been playing. So I guess we should move on to. Before we get to the Sega stuff, just a couple other little things that Hunk Thunder found out quite amusing. So one of them is Sky Sports. Basically, there's going to be a bunch of football matches on Sky Sports that don't have an audience, and Sky Sports have decided to start using crowd noises for 20 during the live match.
Oh God! So it's just laughter
It's
tracks,
canned
but on
cheering,
like
basically.
football.
Canned cheering from a video game, yeah.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
That's interesting. But that's
So
like,
weird.
at the same time, here in North America, we still have WWE wrestling matches with a completely empty crowd, and there's no crowd matches.
Yep.
Yeah,
Sorry,
they're
no
not,
crowd
they're not
noise,
going to
I
want to
mean.
use anything from the official wrestling games recently, are they?
No,
I have
just
not
hear, like,
heard of them
glitches
doing
in the
that. I
background
don't
all the
even know
time.
if they've considered it. But of course, the recent WWE games are incredibly broken.
Exactly, yeah. I wouldn't even be surprised if like the audience sounds are somehow glitched in that because everything else is.
Oh, a lot of things glitch. It's so bad in that game that because of some kind of clock issue with that game, the game completely stopped working on New Year's Day 2020.
Oh
It
dear!
basically had a Mammalian bug.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it got fixed, but I have not heard of this happening in any other annual sports game at all.
They are the FIFA of like wrestling games, really, aren't they?
Like they got
Yeah.
Y2K.
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, why are they using the FIFA 20 audience things when they could be using the Virtua Striker 2 version 2000.1 audience? Because I swear, this was just like a football game on the Dreamcast. I swear to God, they had a sample in that game where you can clearly hear people going, wankers, 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 and it plays all the time in that game. It's like, this game's just constantly saying wankers. I was like, it's like really
Wankers.
tinny. It's really tinny and kind of like crappy sound quality. So I'm not 100% sure. But if you just look up any gameplay of Virtua Striker 2 on the Dreamcast, I swear all you can hear is wankers, wankers. It's just like just use that because that's more realistic. That's more realistic to British football, to be honest.
That's the thing, though. That is realistic because if you go to a real football match, that's what you hear.
Yeah, you just hear that all.
Or who ate all the pies? Who ate all the pies?
That and racial slurs.
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Oh, good lord!
Oh,
you
yeah,
guys
no.
do racial slurs at all your sporting events.
God,
Yeah, I'm afraid we do. Yes.
We're quite renowned for it.
Yeah.
Sports
Yeah.
brings out all the crazies. I swear.
What other football games should they use samples from? I
World
think
Cup
whenever there's a
Yes.
whenever they get a goal, they have to use that.
Oh.
I don't know. I mean, there's pretty good crowd noises in Rocket League, which itself is technically a soccer game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just use, while they're at it, put little Rick and Morty things sticking off the players' heads.
Yeah.
Tell me what you got every time I get a goal.
Yes. That would make
Right.
football somewhat bearable.
Yeah, might not fall asleep in front of it and stuff that way.
It's weird because like you are getting all like this sort of uncanny valley with people watching sports now, where they have no crowds, but it's like they're trying to sort of by doing this, it's like they're putting their fingers in their ear and pretending everything's normal, sort of
Yeah.
I actually disagree with it because you can't really play sports without getting right next to each other. So you're not social distancing with each
No.
other.
You can't
Yeah,
tap
no.
anyone.
It's just
Yeah,
selfish.
exactly.
Where a lot of these industries have to stop. Like, why does sports have to try really hard to carry on?
Yeah,
Right.
it's quite important.
You've got to get paid.
And going back
to
to the WWE, they've actually lobbied the Florida government here in North America to have the WWE reclassified as an essential business so they can continue operating.
Ah.
Vince McMahon's such a slimy little prick.
What's a load
Yeah,
of
I
BS?
hate his guts so much.
What's a load of BS?
He's a genius, but he's an absolute arse.
Yeah, if they stick a fridge near the arena with some essential food in it, they can say they're an essential business, I guess.
Yeah.
Just put a fridge in there.
I guess.
Yeah.
They attack each other with the fridge doors, and then they also, while they're there, sell like vegetables and stuff. Then they're allowed. Then they're essential. They're essential workers.
Well, all I can say.
Maybe-
Sorry.
Maybe I could justify it if they'd at least stream the WWE matches for free. But
Yeah,
they don't.
That's what they should be
Not
doing
to
with
men-
sports.
Not to
Instead of
mention they.
Sorry,
Not to
go on.
mention they straight up. Not to mention they straight up fired some wrestlers who couldn't perform for the matches.
They're lost. They'll just go to AEW. So
Yeah, I don't know how AEW is handling things.
they've been
Hopefully, a
wrestling.
lot better than this.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, sorry, Karen.
I just disagree with like sports just like trying desperately to carry on doing their thing when everyone else is not.
Yeah, some sports have been doing digital leagues, which I think is
Yeah.
cool. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
like F1
Yeah.
and that they've
They're
been
straight
playing
up.
video game versions.
I love
Oh,
that.
that's
Yeah,
cool.
that-
Making
Yeah.
people
that
aware of
sounds
the
fine.
games in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, you could probably argue that race car events could still work because
Yeah, they
everyone's
can.
social distancing in their cars.
Yeah, I guess.
But then again, I don't know about the mechanics who have to keep
I
to
do
keep
have
the
helmets
cars
on,
running.
to be
like-
fair.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
You know,
yeah.
so they probably are all right as relative to any other kind of sport. The problem
but yeah, with everything going on, it's pretty clear that a lot of businesses never accounted for something like this happening.
No.
So
Yeah.
I do understand they need money to survive, but you know, it really brings out the desperation in people who don't have a contingency plan for
Yeah.
Small businesses
event
I
like
feel
this.
sorry for, but not so much big businesses. They should have a buffer. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
especially the WWE. They're rich as hell.
Mhm.
They could survive a year or two,
Not
not
only
being able to
that-
broadcast if they need to.
Not only that, but here in the UK, we've got a pretty good sort of system to keep a lot of these businesses going. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's one of the best, like, you know, in the world, if I'm being honest. Like being 80% pay and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, the furlough scheme.
Yeah.
So, and then you got football, who, you know, let's face it, there's enough money in football floating around that they don't need to, you know, sue Sega and carry on trying to do matches.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. It really is, because you
I
see
don't know
that, you know,
anything
a lot
else
of the
about that
businesses that are, you know, getting hit hard, and I feel sorry for. I like the what's the word for it?
Family businesses and that.
Yeah, like the small
hosting.
businesses.
You know, like hosting. What's the word for it? What's this? Oh, you're useless.
What do they do?
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like
Run.
hotels, hospitality. That's the word I was thinking of.
Oh, yeah.
Like hotels and like
Hospitality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the things I do feel sorry for. Sport, no.
Mm.
Stop having
Well-
football matches in empty stadiums and just pack it in.
No, I mean, we got a
Otherwise, we
lot
will
of
be
homeless
forced to get
people
the
in
purchase striker to
America, which
bubbles out.
the hotels could be providing at least temporary housing for, but they don't.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So like, I find it hard to feel sorry for them.
Yeah.
Eat the rich.
Yeah.
Eat the rich, have them for breakfast, lunch,
banana.
and dinner.
Right, moving on.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving on swiftly
Yeah.
because we got a little bit whatever there.
Sidetracked.
Right,
Yeah,
Right.
I know.
right. Hot
Yeah, it brought
Smash
out a
Brothers
lot of
scoop.
rants from us.
Hot Smash Brothers scoop. Hot Smash Brothers scoop.
Oh yeah.
Character definitely confirmed. Definitely confirmed. This is definitely a character that's going to happen.
Who?
Sakurai feels he can't stream or even talk about what game he's playing at the moment because Western fans always speculate that they're going to be Smash characters.
Yeah.
Basically, it's gotten to the point now where he can't even type on Twitter, "Oh, I'm playing, I don't know, Dead Souls," without people going, "Oh, Dead Souls guy is going to be the next Smash character." Sick of it. So now it's got to the point where it's because
I know. I do not envy Sakurai for having to put up with some of the most insufferable fans in the world.
I feel so for him in general because of his workload.
That too, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it.
And
But you know what?
Sakurai is
Just to
like one
put
of the biggest gamers going as well. I don't know how he has the time, but when you listen to you read like interviews and stuff where he's talking about games, he plays a lot of games. Like he doesn't just he doesn't restrict himself to Nintendo stuff. He's always talking about what Xbox stuff he's been playing, what playing.
Yeah.
He seems to dip he dips his toes in everything. You know?
I would love a situation where Sakurai was like, cool, like in the Japanese bathrooms they have those little mini games you can play when you're going to the toilet. Games. Someone walks in on him and they're like, it's confirmed for Smash.
the Sega toilet game.
They put some of those in Army too.
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah, go into the toilet and you do these weird little
games.
Got a
little aim or something.
Yeah, you got to fill up like a pressure gauge.
Those machines actually buy Sega.
Figure out how those games work.
Well, you piss in them. That's what you do.
Yeah. These are real games that Sega made.
Yeah. And of course, when Kiryu goes to use them, he shouts, "Toilet!"
Of course he does.
For no reason.
He does that whenever he plays any games.
And dramatically unzips his fly.
Like with everything in life,
everything he does, he goes Super Saiyan.
Yes, but he answers the phone.
Yeah, or just does a text. Intense texting that he does.
But anyways, though.
Yeah.
That's all that is really. It's basically just Sakurai just saying that he feels like he can't talk about games anymore because people just bang on about Smash Brothers.
Yeah, he does make Kid Icarus as well,
And just to put things into perspective, how over speculative people can get. I remember before Smash Brothers Ultimate came out, Sakurai was doing these not live streams, but he was talking in trailers about the game in a room where behind him there was a potted plant and 2 chairs, and people somehow.
I remember this.
People somehow deduced from that plant and those chairs that Skull Kid from The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask would be a playable character.
I remember that.
Of course, Skull Kid was later confirmed to be an assist trophy, but at the time nobody knew that.
Yeah, but I don't think they strategically put chairs there or certain colours just for them to go, oh look, I've deducted your puzzle. It's like, no, they just had those chairs.
Just to wind them up.
I think what happened was one of the chairs was yellow, the other one was purple, and suddenly people remembered that the 2 fairies that accompanied Skull Kid and Majora's Mask were purple.
Yes.
And I don't remember how they came to that conclusion with the potted plant as well.
That's some Olympic level gymnastics there.
It really is.
I'm sorry. Let me just from here and pull out this image of Sakurai with that plant. Just to remind
what is it?
myself
Like
what it
Poplan, toilets confirmed for Smash.
Yeah.
Sega made Pickleman says Sega made a lot of those P games. I don't remember any other than Sonic 06 though.
The great mighty P from Smash.
Why not throw him in?
Oh, why the hell not? We already got Banjo and Kazooie, and who even gives a damn that the game is rated E10 in North America anyway?
Right. So I guess the big thing over the week, because obviously a lot of things played for obviously. It didn't stop Sega in Japan though. They were just like, no, shut up. We're whatever. Basically, Sega had their 60th anniversary last week, and they had a few things to announce for it. I think last time on the podcast we actually theorized what the news was going to be because there was a load of rumors about some guy from Famitsu said there was going to be this groundbreaking Sega news, that's going to shatter like the gaming industry to be up there with like when they revealed the PS4 and something. People were like, "Oh, what's this? Probably going to be either going to be nothing or it's going to be something, stuff like that." Before we even get to what that was, the first thing that they really announced was a Game Gear Micro.
Yeah.
Emphasis on micro. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a Game Gear Mini like we were probably expecting. And yeah, like when it got revealed, I was like, "Oh yes, they're doing a little Game Gear finally." And then the monkey paw fingers.
Yeah, it was like, oh, it's a little Game Gear.
It's a very, 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 very small Game Gear. Like it's literally got the opposite problem that the original Game Gear had.
It was like the Principal Skinner meme when Sega saw the Nintendo's Game Boy Advance Micro, and it was just like pathetic.
Yeah, the Game Gear Micro, it's basically keychain size. I think the best reference I've seen is they said that the D-pad and the buttons are modelled after the VMUs. So I guess that gives you a rough idea. So it's roughly VMU sized. There's 4 of them in different colours, and each one has different games on it. They each have 4 games.
That's what annoyed me.
Yeah.
I was so up for it. I wasn't best pleased with the size, but I was so up for the idea until I heard that these are going to be about £40 to £50 here in the United Kingdom. And there's only 4 games on each, so you can barely see the bloody thing, and it's only got 4 games. And the problem is, as well, the lineup's going to be different over here, I'm sure of it. But the Japanese lineup, it's got games I want on every single one. So I'm going to want all of them, you bastards.
They've got you hook, line, and sinker with this lineup, so I'll go through each one of them. So the black model comes with Sonic 1, Puyo Puyo 2, Outrun, and Royal Stone.
I love Royal Stone.
The blue variant has Sonic Chaos, so they've already split the Sonic games, Gunstar Heroes, Vivian Tail, and Baku Animal. And then the yellow Game Gear is basically the Shining Force one. It's got all 3 chapters of Shining Force Gaiden on it. And then it also has Nazo Puyo Puyo, which is the Puyo Puyo game that literally has a photo of Curry on the cover. Yes, which I have a copy of. It's basically like a Puyo Puyo game, but it's like a mission-based one.
That looks really cool, that one.
Yeah, I've actually got a cart of that. I've got the box copy of that upstairs somewhere. And then the red version has...
It's the Mega 10 one.
Yes, this is the one that's got Megami Tensei Gaiden Last Bible Special, Demon Slayer, the GG Shinobi, aka just Shinobi.
The GG Shinobi.
The good going Shinobi.
James
and Columns.
Yeah, and Columns.
They split the puzzle games across all of them. Like they've literally put a puzzle game on each one. They've split 2 of the Sonic games. They've split... Well, obviously, luckily they put all the Shining Force stuff together, so at least if you want some Shining Force, just get the yellow one. But then there's also RPGs on each one. That's the other thing, RPGs on this teeny weeny screen.
I know, because that's going to be fun to read.
Yeah, how are you going to read it? The screen on this
and
thing is literally the size
that's
of
only if you can read Japanese, of course.
Well,
yeah. I mean, like,
if you have no Japanese language, then the yellow Game Gear in particular is worthless to you.
Yeah. So far, there we go. So it says here that the hardware itself is 80mm by 43mm, and it has a 1.15-inch display.
Mm-hmm. Which is pretty much my smartwatch.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Oh, when you look at it like that, I guess it's not.
It's about the size of the VMU's screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be a nightmare.
The issue I'm going to find is I just don't think that D-pad's going to be able to handle any realistic gaming.
That's probably why they've mostly put RPGs on it, because they don't really require too much computation.
No.
They don't put any fighting games or anything like that on these. It's mostly puzzle games. They're also going to be doing a box. They're also going to be doing a box set that has all 4 of them in it. It's a really nice box set. It's got all 4 of them in it, and then it's got pins of the box art to every single game.
Yeah,
I think it's really sweet. And they're also doing, I think this is hilarious. This is the funniest thing about the whole announcement. they're doing one of those big window things that you strap to the front of it to make the screen look bigger, like with a mirror. It's like what you could get for the Game Gear. Do you remember those things that you slapped it onto your Game Gear?
Oh,
Game
yeah.
Gear?
Yep.
It basically
I
adds like a backlight.
had one for
and
my
stuff.
Game Gear too.
Yeah.
Mine didn't look
a
like
Game
this
Boy
one, but I did have it.
Yeah. So they're selling one of those as well, but I think you can either buy it separately or you can get the box set and it has that in it, and the box set is about $250.
See,
That's about the price of a Switch Mini.
Yeah, for what? Not a lot of games. Not a lot
or,
of
or
not a lot of games.
novelties.
Is basically this is just a cute novelty done for the anniversary. This is not the Game Gear Mini I think people were hoping for. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't think this is supposed to be a successor to like the Mega Drive.
I mean, the
a
Mega
cute
Drive
little
Mini was
novelty.
also a novelty, but at least that one's a lot more practical than this.
Yeah.
More practical, and it had more on it. It had a lot of games. These literally have 4 games. That's just not enough.
And if they're doing this because the Mega Drive Mini sold well, I was like, come on, guys, I really want a Master System Mini.
Yeah.
Can you do that instead of this?
I mean, a Game Gear. What I would have loved, because the Game Gear is basically a portable Master System anyway. A Game Gear
Attachment.
a proper sort of like half the size of the original Game Gear would be a good enough size. Put all of these games on it, and I'd say maybe like another 10 or 20. Like there are plenty of Game Gear games they could put on one system, and even if that ends up costing the same as all 4 of these, that would still be better in my opinion.
Of course it would, yeah.
So many. It's like obviously you'd have a better screen, stuff like that. But yeah, this is really supposed to just be like it's just like a little toy thing, really. But it's just too expensive. Like, it's expensive. You know? It's
it's a collector's item first and foremost.
Yeah, I think that's primarily why they've done
it. And that doesn't really bother me per se, but like at the same time, if they're going to make this a functional game machine where you can actually play the games that are included on it, they could at least make it a little more of a manageable size. Of course, this is exclusive to Japan for the time being.
Yeah, they have not announced it over here.
Yeah, and the Japanese tend to have smaller hands, but at the same time, like
bloody small.
but at the same time, like even a little Japanese child, I imagine is not going to be entirely comfortable trying to play games with this thing.
No,
especially if
the screen is small and they're just learning how to read.
Yeah.
It's not going to do them any favors.
For all we know, our opinion might completely change on this as soon as one is in our hands. For all we know, I might pick one up and go, actually, this is really cool. Like maybe the screen's really sharp and you can actually make the stuff out. Because I'll be honest, I love the Game Boy Micro. Obviously, that's bigger than this thing.
I still want to get one of those.
The Game Boy Micro is fantastic, but even with that, the size is almost too small. It's like it's just the right size to not be too small. If that makes sense, like the screen is just only just. I feel like even that system is almost pushing like with the screen, but so if they do end up announcing these for the West, I'm going to assume most of these games are going to be out because most of these games never got localized.
At most, they're the puzzle games that are untranslated, I think. At most.
So in the case of Puyo, they could probably just put either Mean Bean Machine or that translated version that is actually on the Japanese cart, because if you put the Japanese cart in an English Game Gear, it comes up as Puzzlo Kids.
Yes.
It's actually fully translated
right.
when you plug it in. Yeah. So I was just curious, like, if you had to swap out these games, if you had to pick 4 games on one of these little Game Gears, what 4 games would you want?
Oh, good question. Okay, so
think about the practicality of the size of it as well. You're forced to have this tiny Game Gear. What 4 games do you think would at least be practical and you would probably enjoy playing it on the tiny thing?
Well, I think Triple Trouble is probably my favourite Game Gear game.
That's a big missing game. I don't know why that's not on there.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Sorry?
I was just thinking the same thing.
Oh, right, sorry,
About Triple Trouble.
Yeah, I love that game so much. Triple Trouble, Golden Axe Warrior, but then yeah, that's tricky with the small screen. I would say Golden Axe Warrior.
Also, that's on the wrong system.
Oh, is that not on the Game
It's
Gear?
a Master System game, I think.
Oh, I thought it was on.
There's Axe Battler on the Game Gear.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I'll have a think about my other choices.
Okay. I'll give it a spin off the top of my head then. So Game Gear Shinobi's fine.
Yeah, I love that.
The thing is, I'm tempted to put Game Gear Shinobi 2 on there as well, which
Yeah, Game Gear
eliminates a lot of my
Shinobi 2 is
choices.
very good.
Yeah. So Game Gear Shinobi 1 and 2. The Game Gear Dragon's Trap. Yeah.
That was actually going to be one of mine as well, Dragon's Trap.
As a fourth game.
I mean, we don't all have to come up with 4 games each. I was just thinking, what games you think you would like to see if they localize these over here?
Like I say, I would like to see. I would like to have Shining Force. What's it called? Sword of Heya, but you wouldn't be able to read it. So, Streets of Rage.
Ooh. Yeah, I think that would work. I think that would actually work. Because that game's simplistic enough that you don't really need to worry about
Yeah, I think you can get away with that one.
Controls are simple enough. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a great.
You can get Streets of Rage 2 on the game, well, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, you could.
That game had a little bit of problem with speed. Apparently, it was too fast. Like enemies were just really fast. I've only played the first one on the Master System. I love that. I think that's such a good port. But yeah, I did hear that the second one was a bit fast. Like he get killed really quickly.
There was a Mega Man game, wasn't there, on the Game Gear as well? But I don't know how good that was.
I think it's about on par with the Game Boy one. I don't say.
I don't remember what it was like.
That
the
was
Game Gear
American
game,
only,
but
I think.
Right. American only, was it?
Yeah, 1995.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's odd, since it came from US Gold, which I believe was. I believe that was a UK company, wasn't it?
They were,
yeah.
Yeah.
They usually go for $400 US.
Oh, it's not worth that price.
Like Mega Man games.
Mega Man games are always worth money now.
It's annoying because they're some of my favourite games, but I can't collect any of them.
It's funny. It's a British-made game by a game that's from a Japanese company, sold only in America.
Oh, go on.
It's not the only example of that, for sure. I mean, US Gold also made Outrun Europa, and I don't think anyone wants that on their Game Gear Micro.
That game wasn't very good. I've got a couple. These are sort of both childhood favourites and ones that I think would realistically work, and one of them's kind of cheating as well. So my Game Gear came with a 4-in-1 cartridge, and it wasn't like 4-in-1 games that already existed separately. They were just like little mini games that were made just for that cartridge. So it had like a little football game on it. It had tennis, where you had like Sonic as the umpire. It had this really cool little rally racing game that was kind of like Outrun, but rally. And it had this really cool little music to it. I might actually be thinking towards the songs. And I'm trying to think the other one was. Oh, there was like a puzzle game on there that was kind of like columns, but it had like slightly different rules. Yeah, I put that on there because that's 4 games in one. And that for that rally game alone, I used to play so much of that little rally game. I think I played that before I even played Outrun. Very similar. Song in it. Another game I'd pick, childhood favourite, that I think would be a game called Woody Pop.
Okay.
So Woody Pop is a super breakout game where you literally play as a plank of wood with googly eyes. And you're like shooting your ball at like all toys and stuff. And like little toy soldiers pop out and stuff. I loved that game as a kid. I absolutely adored that game. And I still kind of dig that game now. I've got a Japanese copy of it around. I think that would really, especially if for weird collector's sake, they actually did like a little rotating like jewel thing. No, I think that was only for the Mark. Why? But I'd put that on there. And yeah, I'd probably pick a couple. Maybe even like there's another one of my favourite games, Game Gear as a kid, was actually Sonic Drift 2.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I feel like that game's simplistic enough that, again, you could probably quite easily play that on that little screen. Quite a lot of characters stuff to do.
We could vouch for that one.
Yeah, that's not a bad choice.
Any other picks?
I'm trying. I wish I could think of more.
Me personally, I can't think of too many games that I would put on here because I don't have too much experience with the game. I would say simply before you think about what games you would put on this if you were to release this in the West, I'd say just scrap the design and start over from scratch.
Yeah,
come up with something that'd be easier to sell to Western fans because a lot of Western fans aware of this news aren't too positive about it. But aside from that, the games I would put on this, there's 3 I can think of off the top of my head, which would be Crystal Warriors, G-Lock, the Game Gear version of G-Lock, and Sonic Blast. Because I know a lot of people don't. I know a lot of people don't particularly like Sonic Blast.
I mean,
and
look
maybe
at
it's
it.
just
Look at it.
and maybe it's just nostalgia talking, but I grew up with that game and I kind of like it.
I'm sorry that happened to you.
That's okay.
That's all right. You got Crystal Warriors on there. That's a good thing.
Even when I was a little kid and I was buying Game Gear games from that shop in Lakeside, and I had almost every Sonic game for the game. I even had Sonic Labyrinth. Sonic Blast was the only one I looked at and went, nah. That was literally the only one I was like,
That's the one you turned down in favor of Sonic Labyrinth?
I'd rather play Sonic Labyrinth, to be fair.
Oh dear.
Yeah, Sonic Blast just plays like Sonic Blast is just Sonic Chaos with bad Donkey Kong Country attempted graphics. It's kind of all it is, really. And you can play as Knuckles.
Well, Baku Baku Animal also had pre-rendered 3D graphics on the Game Gear, and that turned out fine.
Yeah.
We were
and
quite...
you know what?
Sorry.
Which reminds me, I could also vouch for Virtua Fighter animation, I guess.
Oh, that'd be cool. I bet that'd look quite cute on that little screen.
I completely forgot I have that game as well. That game's alright.
Yeah, it's like a little sort of version of Virtua Fighter. It's quite cute. I'd almost argue that's better than Virtua Fighter 2 on the Mega Drive. Not a high bar by any means.
And of course, at the same time, I would think Western Micro should at least start with every Game Gear game that was released on the 3DS eShop, which does include stuff like GG Shinobi, G-Lock, pretty much every Sonic game that released in the West on the Game Gear, including Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. And Crystal Warriors was there as well, which is how I first played it.
That's a really cool pick, actually.
Also Shining Force, Gaiden.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Which came out here as Shining Force, the Sword of Haja.
Haya, yeah.
That's the one.
Or Haya. That sounds a little more accurate.
Yeah, no. I mean, in an ideal world where I could choose games to be translated, I'd probably just have the Maho, what they call it, Monogatari games. Yeah, Sorcery Saga. There we go.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. You could have 3 of the games on there, and then have Puyo Puyo 2 just to cap it off.
That'd
be a nice little thing.
If they end up making more than 4 of these, like even if they just bring them out in Japan, I think it'd be cool if they did actually try and like.
Yeah.
What would be really cool is if they somehow got the rights again and they did just like they did back in the day, did a limited edition red Coca-Cola one with that Coca-Cola Kid game on it. That game's actually pretty good. Like it's basically you can just spray paint Coca-Cola onto it. But that Coca-Cola Kid game, it was basically by the same people that made like Sonic Chaos and Game Gear Sonic games are basically running in the same engine, but instead of running around Sonic, you're running around people.
Yeah,
It's like
I'd be all for it.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a Sonic game without the Sonic mechanics. Like it replaces like jumping on enemies, like otherwise. Quite cool. It's quite neat.
What bugs me about this whole thing is like they got. I know it's a novelty thing, but like in terms of like cost, they could make a big one, and it's just a cost of a bit of plastic, essentially.
Yeah.
You know, and a slightly bigger LCD screen, which let's be honest, doesn't go for very expensive these days. You can get an LCD screen that's quite big for like 15 quid if that. So you're just essentially paying for a larger bit of plastic, and it just seems a shame to waste this opportunity, because even if it was only 4 games a system, if it was a decent size, I would be way more hyped about this.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I'm really excited about it, but yeah, it's just got a lot of
a lot of asterisks with it. You know,
yeah,
that's kind of the Sega way, isn't it? When you think about it, in a lot of the time.
I'm just really happy they're doing something with the Game Gear, and I think what they came up with is kind of cute, despite whatever issues I do have with it.
I mean, it's a Game Gear. There's got to be something wrong with it. You know?
Yeah, there has to be a but and an if.
Yeah,
has to be. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. I'm glad that they're actually acknowledging the Game Gear in some form. Because, like, it was actually quite popular in Japan, from what I heard. It wasn't massive over here, but it's still right, you know, about as well as the Game Boy could do.
Game Boy.
It was.
I mean, everything did. So the PSP lost to the Game Boy.
It was very popular here in North America too, as well. It's the one Sega system that my parents actually agreed to buy for me. They wouldn't buy me anything else, just the Game Gear.
Shame you couldn't get the espresso.
Yeah.
The only reason I had a Nomad is because my uncle gave it to me. My parents didn't buy me that one. They did at least buy me Genesis games after that, probably just because they felt like they were obligated to.
Now imagine if they did a Nomad Micro.
I'd buy that.
It just had like 4 Mega Drive games on it. Like,
you know,
tiny Mega Drive games.
I wish that the Genesis Mini had a Nomad screen option, like the TurboGrafx 16 Mini has the Turbo Express screen option.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I would buy a Turbo Express
in
Mini.
That case,
yeah.
In that case, it probably would be. Yeah, me too, I guess. But for the Nomad thing, it might be a little weird because the Nomad only came out in North America, not even in Europe.
Yeah.
But like, it'd be funny for them. It'd be cool for them just to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Did Japan get the Nomad?
No, Japan didn't get the Japan made the Mega Jet, which the Nomad itself was based on. But no, they didn't have a portable Mega Drive with a screen on it.
Yeah, the Mega Jet was just like a controller, a Mega Drive built into a controller, and you plug it into.
Yeah.
And that was part of what I was talking about earlier, where Sega of America wanted to keep the Genesis going in North America because it was still selling really well, even during the Saturn years.
What would you do if a company like Sega or whoever did something that was like the Google Stadia, the Stadia, but like for retro games, and it was like like the Sega Channel again, essentially?
Okay, but I think I'd prefer the games to not be reliant on a connection.
Yeah,
I think the games are small enough that you don't need to do that with retro games.
It sounds a lot like what Nintendo does with Nintendo Switch Online.
But you have the core system there.
Yeah, I think what Nintendo did is really cool. They just don't put nearly enough games on it. But otherwise, I think it's a great option for playing retro games, especially.
Yeah.
Because like before Nintendo had that little service, back when they had the Virtual Console, most games you saw on the Virtual Console, nobody bought. They just stuck with whatever's popular.
Yeah.
Even now when you look at the top selling arcade archives games on the Switch, it's just Donkey Kong and versus Super Mario Brothers at the top.
Yeah,
and it's probably from people who don't even know that there was a separate arcade version of Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, well, apparently that pissed off a lot of people when that came out because they thought they were buying the original because they don't know what versus machines are. So, yeah.
It's just their own lack of education, I guess.
But but at the same time, you can't blame people because when you buy virtual console games or arcade archives games, they're over $5 each, and the price is going to add up. So you're going to be more inclined to stick with what you know.
Just buy something you're going to play a lot, you know.
Yeah. Whereas with Nintendo Switch Online, as imperfect as it is, even with all the games that are currently available, if you match it up to the price those games went for on the virtual console, so like it used to be $5 for NES games, and $20 a year would be for NES games, virtual console prices. So even with the games currently available, you're getting your money's worth.
Yeah. It's. I think we're seeing like a change in how we approach payment schemes because it's like when you go to arcades now, you get a lot of arcades that do this thing where you get a certain amount of time in the arcade, you pay an entry fee. You know, like stuff would do.
That's a very good way to tangent into the next bit of this. But keep going.
No, I was just saying it's a changing model where basically you pay an entry fee and you get infinite play for that time, and that's better because back in the day when you used to play arcade games, you were very sort of stingy with your money to decide what game you were going to play.
Yeah. You know? I spent most of my childhood walking around arcades looking at the game, not actually playing them because I just didn't have the money to play them. I spent more time sitting on a driving game and just watching it.
I remember I got told off before for doing that in arcades because they knew I wasn't playing it and I was just sitting on the machine.
Yeah, I think kids do that.
Yeah,
arcades.
I mean, it's tough when you're a kid because nobody should be expecting you to have much money on you when you're a child.
Yeah, but you always hear about games for like a quarter in America, and it's like, were they ever that cheap here? Because it doesn't feel like they ever were. You know,
Chuck E. Cheese, for most of the time that I've been alive, they've had all their arcade games with just one token per credit.
How much is
it? Wasn't always there. A token that would be equivalent to 25 cents, 1 quarter.
Oh, okay.
That's cheap. Yeah,
that is cheap. Right, I think that's a good place to tangent into. That's actually quite a good way to sort of segue into the big Sega news. Here's the revolutionary news, guys. It doesn't really apply to anyone outside Japan. So I remember we were trying to sort of come up with ideas of what we thought it might be last week, and I think my one was like, oh, maybe they'll do some kind of streaming thing, maybe they'll do some kind of cloud service.
I mean, you weren't wrong.
Kind of. But basically, the big news, that this Famitsu journalist was really hyping up and making a much bigger deal out of than Sega themselves had, is they're planning a new thing for their Japanese arcades called Fog Gaming, hence the thumbnail on this podcast.
Hence the crisps.
Yep. So it's not cloud gaming, it's fog gaming. Completely different, right? So the difference between fog computing and cloud computing is that cloud is a centralized system, while a fog is a distributed, decentralized infrastructure. Right? So basically the idea behind this thing they announced is it will make it so instead of having to pay out to buy, for example, you buy an arcade machine, you're buying the full thing with the full CPU and everything in it. What they're planning is to make it so you can buy one of those machines and then it will stream the game to every other machine, for example. So basically they're trying to cut costs on arcade games, and they're also going to basically, this is not really like an announcement for something that's going to become like current thing straight away. It's just something that they're working on. Try and sort of bolster their arcade business. Still Sega's biggest business in Japan. It's still their main, because obviously they merged with Sammy. Kind of like their main, that's still their main money, But one of the other uses for this is because Japan's quite a small country. Cloud gaming technically works better in that country because everything's closer together. That kind of makes sense. And the whole idea with this is what they want to do is make it so people playing arcade games away from the arcade when the arcade is up for a few months. I don't feel like I feel like they probably didn't make this in response to the lockdown, but I feel like that's probably just a convenience, a coincidence. But they kind of want to get it to the point where you can stream arcade games from home, but you're still paying for them online. So the arcade that you're streaming the game from, you're still paying that arcade to play the game at home.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
I see that.
Yeah. So the more you look into it, the more kind of like quite interesting. It's quite unique. Thinking. It's very out of the box. Yeah, it's definitely a game changer for a very specific niche thing that isn't going to apply to anyone outside Japan. But it's interesting. It shows that Sega are trying new things again. They've even said in a couple of interviews recently that were in Famitsu that this is just this sounds like nothing at the moment. It just seems silly at first glance, but it is gonna probably lead to bigger things later down the line. And I think this is obviously people getting their hopes up, but I think people are starting to look at that and go, oh, maybe they're eventually thinking of making a stream-based console that just streams their arcade game. It's like, don't reach for that. I don't know. Like the wording in the interview was like, oh, fans are expecting Sega to be seriously working on grand things. The reason why that part is weaker than before is that everyone, including management, not behaving in a normal manner. What? I think this isn't translated properly. I don't really know what this is about.
Oh, gotta love poor translations.
It's literally in the same interview it says, this is a small one. The Game Gear is small and organised. Game Gear Micro will be on sale. With this timing? Yes. Is it gas? It is Sega. It's true.
What?
The way to make a presentation is naughty.
I hope that's on the box.
that has to be on the box of the Game Gear Micro. Is it gas? It is Sega. It's true. So that's what the big news was, guys. It's not really going to apply to us.
Sorry if you were expecting a Dreamcast too.
Yeah, so you all got your hopes up as usual.
No matter how many times Sega has to tell people they can't make consoles anymore, there's always going to be people who speculate Dreamcast 2.
Tiny Game Gears, but they can't make consoles.
It's the Sakurai thing, but for Sega, isn't it? They talk about anything that they're making, and it's also like they're making a new console.
Or they're making a console that's just the name of their last one.
Yep, except in a
that always annoys me.
World.
That always annoys me when sorry.
Except in a post-Genesis mini world, now it's not just Dreamcast 2. Now people are expecting a Saturn Mini or a Dreamcast Mini. Even when Sega themselves,
maybe one day.
Even when Sega themselves have also said that neither of those things are currently possible.
Yet, I think they might be eventually.
Eventually they will, but there's no way to do it right now in an affordable way. Because if they do this, they want it to be cheap, like the Genesis Mini was, at least.
I mean, that hasn't stopped them with the Game Gear Micro. That thing's not cheap.
or even like the Game Gear Micro, where just one of those things is $50.
I mean, it would probably be, if they did a mini that was a Saturn or something, it would probably be like closer to that SNK stick, probably, which was about £140, £150. So
probably,
yeah.
I suppose you could try and justify that, especially when the PlayStation Classic launched at $100, and that was terrible. So people would probably be expecting something like that, but actually good, would probably be more than 100.
I mean, that's what I paid for my PC Engine Mini. You know.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. The
I would
Turbo
honestly
Graphics
be
16
willing to
Mini
pay
would-
pretty good money for a Saturn Mini. Unless,
I would.
Yeah.
But you know, I think the fog thing is an interesting idea. I know that it's not going to really make any practical application over here.
No, because especially like in America, like I don't think cloud gaming's really stop.
I don't
The
think
West
arcade
yet.
realistic full stop over there.
Yeah.
Really.
No,
The only arcades that work here today,
oh,
they're
Oh,
they're
Yeah.
a far cry from the arcades that are actually profitable or fun in Japan.
I mean, we don't exactly have a booming arcade scene anymore. You know,
no.
far from it.
Nah, I guess not.
Well, arcades have evolved a lot in Japan. Like they've done a lot of things over there that have radically changed how people play arcade games. You know, they come in with like cards that have like save files on them, other stuff, and they've got like online servers going around the country, putting like leader not just for that machine, the whole country. And the arcade scene's completely different over there, so it's going to make more sense for them to have this kind of infrastructure, especially when arcades are shut and the arcades ways to stay alive because they've got more investment in.
Yeah, I mean, it's like ad hoc with the PSP. It wasn't really that useful over here because people were not close enough. But if it takes you an hour to get to work on the train, you could get a game of Monster Hunter in, you know, with a random who's off the other side of the train to you, you know.
Yeah. That kind of
Not to
infrastructure
mention
just makes more
the
sense
only-
in Japan.
Not to mention the only reason arcade games can have stuff like online servers or cards in Japan is because people actually play them.
Yeah.
So
Well,
so it actually pays for the costs of all that stuff.
You couldn't. I don't think you could get people to go to arcades here again in real numbers. Just even if you made them cheap, even if you made them like get new games. I think that the wave has passed now, and people will just stick to consoles.
that sounds.
I mean, over here, barcades are very popular, but that's all classic games that aren't going to really work well with this stuff with the hardware they're running because it's all original hardware.
Yeah,
and of course the main reason barcades work is because it's revitalizing that old atmosphere of an 80s or 90s arcade.
Yeah, I think there's only a small window for that.
It's the type of thing that anyone who goes to a barcade like myself, they grew up in that type of spot, so it's a familiar location.
Yeah, I mean,
you're really going. That's the main reason you're going to those places, even if they don't necessarily have your favorite games. Or if you don't like to drink.
My local pub had an MVS system in it, and I remember playing that quite a bit when I was younger. The barn for people who know. And it used to have a little pool table in the back, and it used to have an MVS in there, and it had Metal Slug. I think it had a football game on there and another one, and a lot of Metal Slug. And it's just I don't think that's. I mean, it would work. I think if you had a pub and it had all classic arcade games in it, it would work over here. But only really while this generation's still sort of in that position. You know, like once we're gone, like not at the pub going age anymore, it will die out because they won't have that arcade memory. People
pretty
much. Not to mention all those original arcade games aren't going to last forever.
No,
they get refurbished all the time, but eventually they're going to stop working. That's just the way it is. And then we'll have to rely on emulation. Sorry, was Hunk Thunder speaking?
Yeah. Kind of like the arcade club concept over here. I mean, like there's only two of them. There's a third one planned. It always gets in a big crowd, but it's only open for like 3 days of the week, and 99% of I wouldn't say 99%. I'll say 75% of the sort of people who do attend are basically in their 30s or 40s because they want to relive their youth, as it were. And it works, but like you just said, it won't last forever because this sort of generation will go on.
I've definitely noticed a pattern whenever we've been to places like Arcade Club or anywhere like that. If like these 30, 40-year-old parents take their little kids, most of the time the little kids are just sitting there bored. Like they don't care. They don't care. They don't care about arcade games. Like they didn't grow up with them. They're used to having games on their phone or not.
I mean,
care. Yeah.
You know what Arcade Club's done to like fight that?
Oh, yeah.
They put Minecraft their own little Minecraft servers and PCs in a little corner.
Oh,
You
just
kind of
stick
have
it.
to now,
That's
haven't you?
that's the little crib. That's the crib, is it?
Yeah, probably
I'll
Fortnite
put them
by
in the
now,
ball
but
pit.
yeah.
Yeah, little ball pit. That's their.
Let's go play the Minecraft circle while we play and have fun. But I say it's different now. Like when we went to the arcades in the past, it was because it was an experience you couldn't get at home, you know, and that's not the case anymore. So like, yeah, if you took a child there, they probably wouldn't see what the fuss is because there's nothing you can only get there.
Yeah,
I mean, there are some arcades that give off an experience you can't get at home. Like, for example, driving games. Every driving game today, they have the big driver's seat. Whether it's like Cruise and Blast or Daytona Championship USA, that's with most like fighting games, for example, they sell arcade sticks now for consoles and PC. So you could play those like you would an arcade game just fine at home. You're gonna have a hard time recreating the driver's seat.
Or you can buy those too.
Yeah, or a gun.
They're
for
expensive,
example,
but you can buy.
Or even something like World's Largest Pac-Man, where it's a familiar game, but there's the novelty of the giant screen.
Yeah, so that is it. Novelty is the thing that pulls people back now. You know, whether that's a novelty of sitting in a car seat or the novelty of playing Pac-Man that's really big, you know.
Yeah.
Which is valid, you know, it's a valid way to think. It's just different. And I think it's much harder to come up with ideas. I remember that Police 24 game where you actually had to sort of move around. I think it's called Police 24.
Yeah,
that was
Police
really
24,
cool.
yeah. Army, was it?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically,
what was the novelty wears out. Like even dancing games in North America don't work as well as they used to anymore. So people aren't excited for Dance Dance Revolution like they were a long time ago. You still see some DDR machines now and then, but they're a lot less common than they used to be now.
To the point it's coming out on console now, isn't it? The PC, sorry, the new one.
Yeah, I guess that's just how different Japan and the West is when it comes to arcade. Arcade scene is not booming like it was in the 90s, but it's still going. It's still strong. They still have a lot of rhythm games coming out annually. They still make a big deal out of the DDRs and the pop and music, the other rhythm games that come out all the time. It's pretty much kind of the only thing Konami does video game wise. That stuff, like for the most part. Arcade scene is just stuff like that. Their scene is just so much different to ours that this news isn't make any sense, but I can see why they're doing it. It's a way to sort of bolster what they've got, kind of still going all right over there.
I mean, if this works, sorry.
For Japan, the fog gaming thing makes perfect sense, and I really do hope it works out for them.
Well, I mean, I hope it does start a trend for them where they can do this kind of thing, and you might see other companies do it, and maybe the arcade scene will grow, in Japan back to what it was, and then they make console ports for us.
Yeah. Back to glory.
Yeah, well, I guess that was the Sega news. I guess one other little thing about the 60th anniversary, they did the conclusion to those Sega Shiro commercials.
Oh yeah.
Did everyone watch that?
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I was right. That guy in the mask was it was Sega de Sanjiro. It was pretty obvious. That's where that was going.
It was almost
you saw his pose. You're like.
it was almost as surprising as the big news of Sega's reveal not being a Dreamcast 2 or a Saturn Mini.
That's what I was going to say. Whenever people go on about, the next console by someone, they always take the name of their previous console and slap a 2 on it. It's like, that's not what the console is going to be called. They were doing that before the Dreamcast came out. They go, when's the Saturn 2? It's like, it's not going to be called the Saturn 2.
They even did that with Nintendo.
They're not PlayStation. They don't just use the same name every time, like PlayStation.
Yeah.
Notice no one ever does that with Nintendo.
Oh, they have done.
Nintendo comes up with something completely different for all their new systems.
For the most part.
Except for the Wii U.
Yeah,
Except
people
for
have
the
done
Wii
that.
U, yes.
Sorry.
And
Yeah.
Super Nintendo.
Yeah, people were like sort of when they were thinking about what the next console after the Wii was going to be called, people were coming up with things like Wii 2 or Wii Spy, or silly little things like that. Yeah, as in the German Spy.
That would be fun.
But
Anyways,
it turned out to be Wii U.
Anyways, though, we were talking about this commercial.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there isn't that much to say. Like, they had this big fight in the middle of the school. All kids like cheering them on around the side. They're suplexing each other, and then there's like all these weird electric effects going off. Sega Shiro gets like he's like, I don't know, moment like overthrows this guy, and his mask falls off, and it turns out to be Sega the San Shiro. Yeah,
That's a good one.
I don't know what you call it, like pinch.
I mean, that's what that's a Yakuza thing, so it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, they even look like they're sort of doing what happens in Yakuza. Go into that, like the flames come off their arms and stuff.
Yeah.
The mask falls off. It's Sega the San Shiro. He's like, oh, dada, oh, dad. And then it's just like Sega the Shiro has this. I haven't seen like a subtitled version of it yet, so I don't actually know exactly what he says. But based on the stuff flying by, it's like, oh. Sega are still going. They're not quite the big thing they were once before, but they still make arcade games, and they still make this, that, and the other. And the whole time, he just keeps shouting, "Dad, Dad, Dad!"
Yeah.
Like the whole time, and he's like, "Are you listening to me, son?" He's like, "Dad!" And then eventually, he just like his son just grabs Sega the Shiro and throws him into Saturn.
Yep.
And Saturn explodes. And then he's just crying, Dad! It's just like, yep. That's what that was. Just as silly as the original ads.
So I've actually seen a translation for what he was saying. I just wanted to hear what you thought he was saying.
Oh, brilliant. All right.
Funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was my guess.
So essentially, what Sega Sanshiro was saying was that first off, he was admitting defeat to Sega Shiro, and he was telling him, "You have finally surpassed me, and I am proud of you. And now that you have done so, it's important that you forget about me, and you forget about what Sega was a long time ago." Essentially saying Sega's done a lot of things, but they're a very different company now, and they're still holding it down. They're still doing great things, and I want you to do your best to protect the new Sega, because I represent the old Sega.
And then he throws him into Saturn and kills him.
Yeah, essentially. Sega Shiro's kind of quirky like that.
As a little bit of trivia, the actor that plays Sega Sanshiro was the original Kamen Rider actor.
Oh, right.
Yes, he
That's
was.
true. He was. I did learn that before. I forgot.
The very first.
He was also Haomaru in a Samurai Showdown commercial.
Oh,
yes, he was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically, unfortunately, that didn't conclude the way I wanted it in my dream, where he did that Sega Saturn Mix. But as we've established, that's probably not an easy. That's not going to be. Maybe in a couple of years' time, I don't know. Technology might get good enough to emulate.
It's advancing.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, I was actually expecting because in the second commercial, Sega Shiro showed off a Game Gear, a Sega Scope 3D goggles, and a Saturn. I thought it was going to conclude with some kind of announcement regarding all three of those things. And then the Game Gear Micro gets announced, so that kind of fed into that theory that I had. But yeah, I not that
maybe
I was
it's the
expecting
three
a Saturn
pillars.
Mini, but
Maybe it's the 3 pillars.
Hey!
So the Game Gear, so we've got Game Gear Micro. Then we've got to get something involving 3D, like glasses, and then we'll get Sega Saturn Mini eventually.
or at least like Sega Saturn ports on a console, or maybe another remake, like the Panzer Dragoon remake.
Yeah.
A little bit of extra
But
news.
yeah, that
by the
didn't
way.
happen.
What's that?
that?
Sorry?
A little bit of extra news. Remember I mentioned about the Bloodstained update for the Switch?
Oh yeah.
Well, I loaded my Switch up a little while ago, and the game updated. I just finished it again, and it's live now. So yeah, you can do Zangetsu and randomizer mode.
You heard it here first.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
That
We're
must
totally
have
the first
happened
people
really
to-
recently.
They must have heard you.
Nice that we do these live now, because if something does break, it is actually live, and we're not like editing the podcast like data.
Yeah.
We have done that a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have.
I guess I could just throw one last bit of news in that might be news, but I haven't actually double checked, like confirmed yet. But on Twitch, adverts started popping up for the PlayStation 5 reveal, saying it's going to be on the 11th.
Mm-hmm.
So basically 1 week from when they delayed it. So
yeah.
I don't think it's been officially confirmed. Yeah, I don't think it's been officially confirmed on their social media yet. So take that with a pinch of salt. But the fact maybe they accidentally put the ads out before they announced it. But yeah, people got screenshots of it. Basically, because it's 9 p.m.
It's hard to argue with that. They would have had to have made that ad.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically the ad they had for last week's one. Just
yeah,
so.
I find that very convincing, because it's just like,
yeah, it's a Twitch ad. You can't fake that.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll be covering that, I'm sure.
Oh yes, definitely.
I gotta admit, I was expecting them to hold it off until like more than halfway through the month, because of what's going on in America right now.
I'm surprised.
Delayed it in the first place.
Yeah,
I thought they'd give it time.
Yeah, I
thought
it's still going. Like it was very respectful and smart of them to delay it, but delaying it by a week does seem a bit like, oh well, we might as well just later.
Well, we've Hunk Fungus just sent a link. It's been confirmed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, from PlayStation
okay.
UK's own Twitter.
Oh, okay. So 9 p.m. on Thursday. So we will definitely be doing a salt or hype for that. Yeah, it's a bit weird that they've only left it a week. You could leave it at least.
Yeah, they've waited this long, so.
But for all we know, all horrible shit could be going on for ages.
Yeah, we don't know when this. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, so I guess we'll be covering that on Thursday, seeing as that's usually when I do Spelunky stream. I think what I'll do, because it's on at 9 p.m. by I'll do the Spelunky stream a little bit early. Start about 6 o'clock and then about 8. Type after that.
Yeah, sounds cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's the news. Like, I didn't really have anything planned for a main subject other than, you know, it's firstly they've been around since technically since 1960. That's when they actually started trading up Sega. Yeah. I was actually kind of looking into some of their over the week. I actually didn't know about some of the stuff. Like, for example, Sega's first actual video game, Pong Club. Literally an arcade game called Pong Tron. Pong Tron. Yeah. It's literally just a Pong machine. Yeah, I don't know if anyone has any, like, where I'm even going.
Well,
like,
any memories of Sega?
Yeah, like, if anyone's got any particular.
Well, I guess I have I guess I have my memories I'd like to share.
Yeah, go for it.
I didn't have too many memories of too many personal memories of Sega growing up. Like I mentioned before, I missed out on most of their consoles, so all of my memories were essentially as a bystander,
Yeah.
just looking at the whole thing from the outside in.
Hmm.
I did experience a lot of their arcades. I went to Chuck E. Cheese a lot when I was a kid, and some of the games that I remember the most include stuff like Rad Mobile, the
Hey.
Jurassic
Ooh.
Park arcade,
Mm.
and the Lost World Jurassic Park, Wave Runner, The Maze of the Kings, and Magical Truck Adventure,
Huh.
which is a game that I'm especially glad I got to experience at least once.
Oh yeah.
Mm. I mean, for me, I think like Sega is my earliest gaming memories. Like when I think of like what's the earliest memory of me gaming, it was the Master System. It wasn't mine; it was my brother's. He had a NES and a Master System and a Super Nintendo later, and he had a large collection of games he never played, so I basically played them all, and it essentially became mine. And I've made no secret that One the Boy is one of my favorite games, and I played that a lot. But yeah, and then he got the Super Nintendo, and once again, he didn't really play it, so that became mine as well. And I eventually got a Mega Drive one Christmas. It was a year that we were going to Butlins over Christmas. For international viewers, it's sort of like a crap holiday place. And they were like, "Oh, you can open your Mega Drive early, and you can play it for about half hour before we leave to go to Butlins." And I was like, "Okay," so I played it a bit, and then I was annoyed because I didn't want to be at Butlins. I wanted to be at home playing my Mega Drive.
What game did you have with it?
I don't blame.
And but fortunately, we all got sick and had to come home.
Oh, no.
I was like, "Oh no, we all got a stomach bug. We've got to come home." So we got to come home.
That
So
wasn't
You were
deliberate.
happy.
You
You were
didn't
shitting
sabotage
yourself,
the holiday, did you?
Worth it.
The good news,
Didn't
the good news
sabotage
is
the
you got
holiday,
to
did you?
spend- The good
So I got
news
to
is
go
you
home
got
and
to
play
spend more
BBC.
time with your new Mega Drive. The bad news is everyone was sick.
Yeah, well,
I
silver lining.
just love fortunately. That's brilliant. I'm probably going to get a bit sappy here, and I apologise. But Sega is and will always be my favourite game company. They are the how do I describe this? They are the kind of the games themselves have kind of shaped, the kind of gamer I am today. I still love Sega so much. Such a shame they're not making consoles anymore. My earliest memory was the Master System. I was playing it when I was about the age of 6.5. My first game I ever played was Alex Kidd in Miracle World, which is a very harsh game for a 6-year-old to jump straight into. I didn't finish it until I was a teenager. My second game I ever played was Monster World, and that's another game that a child should not be jumping into because it's not easy. And then it was Sonic 2 after that. Those were the 3 games that we had for that system. And I went from a Master System to a Mega Drive, and I actually sadly skipped the Saturn. I got the PlayStation 1, which I think most people in this country kind of did. Yeah, they went from Mega Drive or SNES to PlayStation, didn't they? And then I went from PlayStation to Dreamcast and N64. I kind of got both at the same time. And obviously, with not long into having the Dreamcast, I've discovered Shenmue, which just, oh my god. Both Shenmue and Morrowind, they both came along at the same time, and they just completely changed how I perceived gaming at all. What I wanted to see in games was games like this, where so much care and attention was made into the world building and the minutest detail. Just that sort of love over the craft over just being in the world itself, and that's still my number one thing in games, which is why I've currently latched onto the Yakuza series for that kind of that thing where there's just there's like there's handcrafted love and attention and detail into every square inch of that map.
Yeah.
Because they've had a lot of games to do so, I guess.
Yeah. And in a way, Yakuza is kind of the most Sega game that Sega has ever.
It really is,
It
It
encapsulates everything that Sega has ever done, past and present. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, pretty much all of my favorite games, most of them are Sega related. Apart from Morrowind. Things like Shenmue and I loved Sonic. Growing up and even to this day. Just things like I don't think a sort of a year goes by where I don't pick up things like Hang On and Space Harrier and Fantasy Zone. Which is why again I love loading up a Yakuza game. I can get my fill in one go. And I mean Sega has just mean a whole lot to me, and I just want to continue to see them doing their thing. I will buy the mini Game Gear, even though I have some reservations.
Same. I'll sag it off, but I will buy one.
I'm kind of Sega through and through, really.
I don't really.
My Sega memory. Sorry, I'll just wrap up. My Sega memory is basically the fact that I've been playing them my whole life and still am, and always will be. There we go.
I guess, I don't really need to go into too much detail with my history of Sega because I think I've already done plenty of that on the channel. I mean, you've seen all my Sonic Tat, you've seen all my childhood stuff where I was drawing magazines for a controller add-on for the Saturn that gives it 64-bit games. Seen all my stuff where I was literally obsessed with Sega games all of my childhood. But the way that came about is kind of just things could have been so much different. Because my first console was the NES. The only reason we didn't sit for long and I ended up getting a Mega Drive because it didn't bloody work.
Yeah.
We had an NES. We had Ninja Turtles. I think one of my favourite first game was Gunsmoke on the NES. And then we had obviously Excite Bike, Mario, stuff like that. But after about 6 months, we just could not get the thing to work, and we just got fed up with it, and we sold it off. And I think that was around the time we bought an Amiga, so I had an Amiga for quite a while. And then the reason I ended up with a Mega Drive, I never had a Master System. I ended up with a Mega Drive because it was in a way, it was kind of the console that was reasonable. It was cheaper than a Super. It wasn't as cheap as a Master System, but it was it just so happens that I ended up getting that system. I don't think it was necessarily by choice. I don't know, because I didn't even really get into Sonic the Hedgehog via the games initially. I got into Sonic via both the cartoons and the comic strip. And then I think that's how I ended up with a Mega Drive, because I was like, oh, hey, they do games of that character? When I was really little, I thought he was just a cartoon character. And I was like, oh, there's a video game of him on this thing.
It worked.
Yeah, and then, everything just rolled from there, basically. I basically stuck with Sega consoles for the most part, right up until they stopped. I went straight from Mega Drive. I refused to move, much like Sega of America, I refused to move on from the Mega Drive. I was like, they should just keep making games for this. This system's fine. You don't need to make fussed about 3D stuff, whatever. I just want more Mega Drive. Eventually, because I lived in Southend, right by the front, you have the arcade. I used to walk down the arcades, and obviously most of the arcade games were Sega stuff, and you'd see all these amazing games the future was happening in front of you. The way Sega at the time were top of the game when it comes to graphics in the arcades, showing new technology in an arcade. You go into an arcade and see Virtua Fighter 3 for the first time, and you're like, what? How? What? The jump from Virtua Fighter 1 to Virtua Fighter 3, which is about not even 5 years. It's about 5 years. 4 or 5 years is insane. You'll never see that kind of quantum leap in ever again.
No.
We grew up at right that time when all that stuff was happening, and for me, walking in an arcade and just seeing all that, seeing all that stuff that Sega was doing, also like that stuff, that's what got me to eventually go, okay. The Saturn's got a Sonic game that's basically got all the Mega Drive Sonic games on it, and also it has all those arcade games on it, so I kind of want a Saturn. And I still remember, I think I already mentioned this before, but I still remember my mum trying to convince me to get a PlayStation. She was like, look how many more games it has. It's like,
It was a wise woman.
I was adamant. I was adamant about having a Saturn, and I don't regret it in the slightest. The Saturn is one of my absolute favourite consoles. In fact, I'd say my top three, it always juggles between Mega Drive, Saturn, and Dreamcast. No particular order, because every time I play one of those three consoles, like, that's my favourite console. And then I hop to the other one, it's like, nope, that's my favourite console. It's like, I can't. They're all joint first in their own ways. Like, it's.
Well, I'd say until the Switch came out, the Dreamcast was my favourite console. Which is weird because I'm a big RPG guy, and it wasn't exactly swimming in RPGs.
No, I had like 5.
Yeah, but they were very good ones though. Skies of Arcadia, very good. But it just hit all the notes perfectly well, and that was my first ever launch console as well.
Same here, actually.
Which one? Sorry, the Switch or the
Dreamcast?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
The only console I ever bought on launch was the Wii. And I don't regret that. I
couldn't buy one at launch. I tried.
The only reason I could is because I worked in game and I had a friend who cancelled an order, so I managed to nick it. Well, not steal the console. You know what I mean?
Take the pre-order. I feel the same about the Dreamcast. Actually, outside of its technical issues, it's not being made to last like other consoles.
Yeah.
Other than that, I agree with Gagaman on that. It just, especially for my taste in games, which basically formed around arcades in a lot of what Sega can. I wasn't really into role-playing games. I wasn't really massive. I like fast, short burst games, and I feel like the Dreamcast just encapsulated everything I loved about gaming in one system. There were games coming out for that every single week that I wanted.
It was the Sega philosophy distilled, I think.
Yes, definitely.
So if you like Sega, this is peak Sega.
Dreamcast is definitely. I'd say Dreamcast is probably peak Sega in terms of the technology, in terms of what the console do, like the kind of games that Sega got. It was like
famous for.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to really put it into words, but I think the Dreamcast just came around at just the right time, just as I was like going into my teens. And I just feel like, it's a shame that Sega ain't making consoles anymore, but at the same time, I do feel like sometimes Sega's games are more important than their consoles.
What is a console? It's just a platform for playing games.
But I also feel like Sega were not brilliant at making consoles most of the time. I feel like their games would have been better. Like, for example, if Sega's arcade games were on the PlayStation, they would have been so much better. Let's be honest. Sega collaborated with Sony on the PlayStation. That would have been the best console ever bloody made, because it had all of Namco's stuff, it would have all the Sega stuff, Sega ports would be better. It would have been the best console ever. Like,
absolutely.
It's funny you should say that. Like I said, I didn't really grow up with much of Sega's consoles, but I was always really interested in them. So I remember when I heard the announcement that Sega was discontinuing the Dreamcast and removing themselves from the console market. I remember at first I was really sad and also really confused because, one, I wasn't sure what was going to happen to Sega, and two, I didn't really know that it was flopping financially and Sega was bleeding money. I learned so much about the Dreamcast, and I thought it was incredibly revolutionary. I thought there was no way this could fail, and I was shocked.
Yeah.
But then when I learned that they were going third party, I started to become excited because since my parents refused to buy me Sega consoles, but they were happy to buy me Nintendo and PlayStation consoles, it essentially meant I didn't have to miss out on their games anymore.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
when I-
everyone wins.
So when I got my GameCube, one of the first games we got was Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, and I was stoked to finally experience that game.
Hmm.
And then I remember I still wanted to see what Sonic Adventure was like, and then I was hoping they'd do that on the GameCube as well, and sure enough, they did.
The only thing
Yeah.
that really sucked about that era for me when Sega transitioned to third party is I was used to having all of Sega's stuff in one place, and now they were splitting certain franchises to certain consoles. Like, oh, you want Virtual Fighter? Get a PS2. You want Sonic? Get a
Yeah.
GameCube. At first, they were talking about GameCube Sonic stuff, and then eventually they made them all for. And then it was like, oh, do you want Jet Set Radio? Go to Xbox. It's like,
I know. It's
I
like
can't
buy
have
now.
all three. I can't have all three.
I
I ended
remember
up going with a GameCube, and I kind of regretted it because I didn't get on with GameCube that much. I just felt it was. And then I eventually got a PS. Well, I did actually, as I say, I bought an Xbox from a boot sale. Played Jet Set Radio Future to completion, and got rid of it again.
I remember being disappointed by all the Sega games that wound up on Xbox because I really wanted to play all those games, but at the same time there was virtually nothing else on Xbox that I was interested in, so it was hard for me to justify it.
Yeah.
But,
While I had an Xbox, it wasn't really something that.
I've got your Xbox now.
Yes, you've got my Xbox now.
I'll pull it off you.
Also, my copy of Total, I think, as well.
Yes, yeah.
Yes. And Shenmue 2, I think that's my old copy, I think.
I think yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like I was upset that Jet Set Radio Future and Panzer Dragoon Auto were on the Xbox because I felt like it was unnecessary.
Yeah.
You know,
they should have just put everything on everything. You know, if they could.
Yeah.
Obviously, Sega couldn't afford to do that, but.
Yeah, but you know, I was still happy with what I did wind up with. And since I had a PlayStation 2, I did also get Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution, which was the first Virtua Fighter game I was ever able to play.
It's a good Virtua Fighter game.
Damn good
I couldn't even find a Virtua Fighter in arcades at the time.
We had one in Southend. I swear we had Virtua Fighter 2.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure there were in a lot of places, just not in any of the arcades that I was able to go to. Although I do remember playing a Sega motorcycle game at a roller rink once, but I don't remember what it was. It might have been Super Hang On. It might have been a different one. I think there was two. I think there was two linked together for two players. So if that's true, it wasn't Super Hang On.
It Manx TT?
It wasn't Manx TT. It wasn't a 3D game.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sure I've seen a game like that before, but I just can't remember the name.
Definitely Sega.
It was definitely Sega. Yeah.
Oh,
and I also remember playing Outrunners once.
Outrunners. They used to have that in Southend. That was cool.
Yeah.
That one was really neat. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's Enduro Racer.
Oh, yeah.
No, it was not Enduro Racer. No, it was not a motocross game.
Okay.
I'll look it up later because I think I know what it was. I just can't remember the name.
I do.
But anyway, nowadays I have all the Sega consoles that I missed out on earlier.
Yeah.
So I do collect a lot of retro games. Most of the stuff I get wound up being Sega stuff. Because I think one of you was talking about earlier how I forget which one of you said this, but you have a Super Famicom now, or a Super Nintendo, and you've been checking out a lot of the games on that system just to see what you've missed out on.
Yeah,
that's the same thing with me and Sega. So I've been checking out a lot of the stuff that I've missed out on back when it was new.
Yeah.
It's a fun experience to do that because, like I say, I've just been doing that with the PC Engine Mini. I've been able to essentially step back through in time as if I was like a devout PC Engine player, you know, with my own library of games, and it felt like that where I could just sort of just power through all these different games, and experienced stuff I've never experienced before, and it's been great. It's really been great. You know,
It has been great.
I'm looking forward to doing that myself with the PC Engine. I know virtually nothing about it.
That's another great example. And of course, it's the same with the Genesis Mini because it has games that I wouldn't be able to afford if I tried to get an original copy, like say Alicia Dragoon.
Yeah.
Which I was very shocked to find out that wound up on the system.
I'm
very
happy about that.
Surprised, but like it's one of the last games I'd expect them to put on that thing.
But is it okay if I just butt in with like I went through 2 waves of like with the Sega systems. Like I had my childhood playing Mega Drive, then the Saturn, and then there was after the Dreamcast. I had the GameCube. I play it a lot. Especially had it for LA. Pretty much. And then because of like car boot sales and stuff, and like retro games were basically worthless. That boot sales game.
Those were the days.
Yeah, I went through a second wave of discovering that more and more and more games were those Sega consoles, and just falling in love with those consoles second time. Like it was like I went through those libraries twice. Because when I was a kid, I like on the Mega Drive, we were mostly just gifted like platforms based on cartoons. We were into Aladdin that year. Not Aladdin. We were into.
Yeah.
We got Bubsy. Whatever. So I didn't really play a lot of the classic games that, like the famous games, or really any of the hidden gems either. So that sort of, I guess it was like early 2000s, like late 2000s. That whole decade was just catching on E4 Sega and just really diving into. In the case of the Dreamcast, at one point I might have at some point had it.
It felt like that to me as well.
Just waved.
It's totally not because of burnt games, because we didn't do that. But you know,
I remember
did that a bit with the Dreamcast.
I did.
The latter half of the 2000s was definitely me doing the same thing, because that's when I had my first job in high school, and that's when I started buying that's when I realized, oh yeah, I can buy all these old games online. I think I'll get a Genesis and maybe get a couple more Genesis games to go with the stuff I still have from my Nomad. And that's when I might have told the story of how I got a Dreamcast before. It's an amazing story. Anyone know thinkgeek.com?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, they're still around today. They've been bought out by GameStop. But back in 2009, on the 10th anniversary of the North American launch of the Dreamcast, they actually came across a warehouse that was full of Dreamcast systems that never shipped to retail. And they were selling each one on their site for $99 each. So I bought one of them.
Wow, brand new one.
Yeah, brand new. I even videotaped it, and I made a video on my first YouTube channel, which is Elk 810, and that video is still online to this day. If you want to look at it,
yeah, you have to link.
I might share it in the Discord later.
Yeah,
but that's when I started buying a bunch of Dreamcast games, and I was lucky to do it back then because there was a lot of expensive games that were still cheap back then, like Skies of Arcadia.
Oh, nice.
That was one of the first ones I bought, and I really ended up enjoying that game.
It's one of my favorites.
I was playing it a ton, almost every day until I beat the game. And I loved it so much that I immediately bought the GameCube version right after I beat it. And that game was still cheap back then too, so I was lucky to get it when I did.
I was lucky enough to be around. I don't know if anyone remembers. There was a time when Game were just basically throwing away Dreamcast games. They were like £5 each, no matter what they were, you know.
Yeah.
And I managed to get like Fantasy Star Online 1 and 2 and Shenmue 2 and all that. like I say, I didn't have burnt copies, so I was able to get the JIP copies of
Yeah.
them. So yeah,
I still can't believe the haul back when Game Station were doing that I got. Do you remember the
Yes.
one?
oh yeah,
I got Castlevania on the Mega Drive and Golden Axe 2, and they were on a buy one get one free beta thing, and it was £5 for Castlevania.
yeah, nice, yeah.
Yeah, I really wish I was able to get some old Sega games back then.
I remember when I told my friend about that deal afterwards, he literally poked me in the eye. He was so angry. He just looked at me for a second and went whack right in the eye.
I still can't see out of it. But I have one of those. It's not Sega related, but I do have one of those experiences where you go back and play a system that you had, but you have like a second wave of hitting all these games you never got to play back then, which was the Super Nintendo for me.
Yeah.
Because I had a few games. I had, Zelda, Mario All Stars, Mario World, Nigel Mansell, Striker. Like I say, it was my brother's console. But I went back in later years, and I feel that Super Nintendo is one of the worst consoles for games that came out in America, didn't come out here.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. It may not be the worst, but it was up there. There's a lot of games, a lot of big games, like all the Final Fantasy games and anything Square related, essentially, that isn't Mystic Quest. And because I wanted Mystic Quest, that was definitely the one I wanted.
Hey, I like that game.
But yeah, no, it's outside of Secret of Mana and that, there really wasn't any RPGs. You had Secret of Mana and you had Mystic Quest, and it's kind of it.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of it.
That was weird when I first found out about that.
It's we had Illusion of Gaia and that, if you count them as RPGs ish, not really.
Action RPGs.
Yeah, Terra Enigma and that, and if you're German, you actually had Lufia too, which I just called Lufia. Yeah, Germany got it, but we didn't, because screw us, obviously. So yeah, you can get a PAL copy of Lufia 2 titled as Lufia. And yeah, that's about it. We didn't get like Earthbound, we didn't get Chrono Trigger, we didn't get any of the major Final Fantasy games, didn't get Mario RPG, just so much. So that was nice in a way, because at a point in my life I could literally go, oh wow, there's a wealth of really good RPGs that are available, and most of them now you can get through various means now. So
yeah.
I guess to sort of wrap up on this whole subject, I guess I think we can all say that Sega have played a big part in our lives. I think especially here in the UK, I think the Mega.
Yeah.
It
had a profound impact on how I went forward gaming. It really did.
Yeah. I feel like Sega always had, even when they were popular, they always felt like they had the underdog vibe to them, compared to Nintendo.
It always felt like Nintendo were winning even when they weren't here, to me.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Yeah, they always felt like they just won just because they had the most money.
Yeah,
Sega always felt like they weren't always perfect. Yeah, the systems sometimes had issues. Sometimes their games had to. Sega weren't always perfect for anything. They always felt like they were trying their hardest. They always, even nowadays, I'd say they've still got that spirit in them.
Yeah,
I feel like they've still got that. They don't make as much as they used to, but
yeah. Well, Sega's still Sega. I mean, sometimes they do things really well. Sometimes they really misstep. Like for every Sonic Mania, there's an 06 for every, and for everything. They do well. There is a 32X.
Yeah,
it's just they're one of those companies. But I don't know if I'd have them any other way, because
I can agree with that. I can totally agree with that. Sega definitely, as Murry Curry said, is probably his favorite company. I'd probably say the same for me, just because I grew up with so many.
Yeah,
just their style of game, their aesthetic, one that's if I was to pick one game other than Sonic that I would say is Sega's aesthetic, and their whole ethos, their whole. If you want one game that sums up what Sega means, Space Harrier.
Yeah,
I feel like that game is Sega the video game. because it goes super fast, bizarre. It might not make any sense the first time you play it.
It still doesn't make sense to me now.
Yeah, exactly. It's otherworldly almost. It feels like it's
Also,
is it made it.
Sorry, is it just me as well? There's something kind of weirdly connected about all of Sega's like major IPs.
It feels that.
No,
way.
yeah,
You're
right.
It feels like they all take part in the same universe, like the Sega-verse, doesn't it? Like,
yeah, I
your
agree.
Fantasy Star, your Fantasy Zone, your Space Harrier, they all kind of feel like they could just quite easily work in this, like they all belong in the same.
It doesn't feel that way with Nintendo as much, even though there are all these crossovers with Wario and stuff. It feels like Metroid is decidedly separate.
Yeah, exactly.
Even when they do Smash Brothers,
and Zelda and stuff like that.
Yeah. Whereas I feel like say Fantasy Zone and Space Harrier probably literally take place in the same.
They are technically, semi-canonically.
Yeah.
Without
doubt.
But if Alex Kidd turned up in one of the games in the background or whatever, it's just like,
Here he is.
There's Alex Kidd.
It doesn't feel weird, does it?
No, it doesn't feel weird. Alex Kidd in Shinobi World. Enough said.
Yeah,
that is just a Shinobi game with Alex Kidd on it.
There is one more thing that I want to bring up, though, just to close this whole thing out.
Right.
You remember how I was talking about that commercial where Sega Sanshiro is saying that Sega is very different today. This is the new Sega. So I want you to forget about the old Sega and protect the new one. I feel like that's also him talking to most fans.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Especially the ones who grew up when Sega was still making consoles. Because think about it. How many times have you heard complaints like Sega should go back to making consoles again because that's the only time they were good? Or like
Sonic was never actually good if you really think about it and all that kind of thing.
Or like even when someone says something like Sega does nothing now except make mobile games and Sonic and Yakuza games and Genesis compilations. Yeah, or even something crazy like Sega's siding with the enemy by making games for Nintendo consoles. Because I still hear that a lot, even to this day.
I feel like Sega's games go beyond the consoles they're attached to, though. I feel like I like that you can pretty much play most Sega games on other systems because I don't feel like their games shouldn't really be tracked to one console. At the same time, I would like it that their games are I can play their games anywhere. That's why I think I had that dream the other week about a Sega initiative where you put in the barcode on the back of a Mega Drive box and you can just play it on any system that you have currently. That's my mentality of I just want to be able to play every Sega game anywhere, and any that they make in the future.
Yeah.
Even one of Sega's
without it being their own console. I don't console.
No.
Even one of Sega's founders, David Rosen, when he was asked about Sega dropping out of the console market, he said that he felt like Sega should have done that years ago because it seemed like such a folly, his words, that Sega's games were all stuck on consoles made by them, where that limited the amount of people who could enjoy them.
Yeah.
And that brings me to my point where Sega they are a very different company now, but in a lot of ways they're still the same as they once were. They still do a lot of cool stuff. So if you like Sega, you really should be supporting Sega and what they're doing now. That doesn't mean you have to buy every game that they make. No, you can pass on a couple. But you do have to accept that Sega is not the same company that they were in the 90s or even the 2000s. There's no way they can go back to that, even if they wanted to.
I mean,
but they do. And it doesn't mean you have to stop playing old games either, because even Sega doesn't want you to stop. They're re-releasing games all the time.
Oh, they can't stop.
Hello, Game Gear Micro.
I'm getting mixed signals from Sega, because they're always giving me all these old compilations, but yet they're telling me to move on.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is you can't be stuck in the past when it comes to a lot of things, but especially Sega in this case. There's a lot of things they did. They had their reasons. You know, what's that saying? What's done is done. You know,
Yeah.
Sega's moved on. So if you're stuck on Sega's not a great company because they don't make consoles anymore, or because Sega's different now, console or no console, you're gonna have to get over it.
I mean,
And
they've actually been out. They've been making games outside of their own consoles for longer now than they were when they were making consoles.
I mean, if you go back to, but in America when the Mega Drive was coming out and Sega of Japan were like, no, it was Sega of Japan the Sega of America were saying we want to pack in Sonic with the Mega Drive, and the Sega of Japan were freaking out because they were like, we're trying to sell these games. It's not the systems. The systems are just a platform for us to sell games. And in that sense, they've done well by getting out of the console market because clearly they didn't really have an interest in that. It was just a means to an end for them to sell software, which is what they do best. They make lots of interesting games.
Yep, software has always been their strongest point.
Yes.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
You know, so I say, as much as it hurts, as much as I'd love to see a Dreamcast 2, this is probably better, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's why that rumor about the Xbox getting rebranded as Sega console in Japan happened. Because people were that desperate.
Yeah. So you don't really want that.
No.
Yeah,
It's not a real Sega console.
And even if they did make a console, what's it going to be like? It's going to compete with the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. It's just going to try and one up those games.
It's just going to be another console for me to buy.
Right. This is why Nintendo stopped trying to one up their competition in graphics, starting with the Wii, because there's no point anymore.
No, don't run the race. There's no point. And like I say, they'd either go up against Nintendo or they go up against Sega and Xbox. And it's just like, but Sega make games. I can play them on my Switch. I'm happy with that. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You know.
Yeah. I think it's about it's the software that makes Sega special. Like their hardware was special in its own way, but I feel like their software is more.
Yeah, like I say, I'm not put out because I can't play Sonic Mania on the latest Sega console that doesn't exist. You know, it doesn't matter to me.
And at the same time, there's a lot of Sega properties that they don't work with much anymore. Stuff like, say, what's an example? Alex Kidd.
List.
Yes.
Yeah, Alex Kidd.
Yeah, Alex Kidd. Or Skies of Arcadia. There's no sequel to either of those games. Maybe some games get a re-release, but you know, there's a lot of people thinking, why isn't Sega making a Golden Axe game? And then I'm sure they
tried.
I'm sure in the case of Golden Axe, they'll get to something eventually, but there's always going to be stuff.
Give it to Lizard Cube.
I'm just saying, they made Beast Rider. Maybe they should leave it alone.
Yeah, definitely.
But at the same time, Sega's made a ton of different games back in their console years, and there's some stuff like Clockwork Knight where they're not likely to ever really do anything significant again.
Yeah,
they're not going to do a sequel or a reboot, and that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. Some things they get cut off for a reason, like maybe it didn't sell well at the time, and even today it's going to be a hard sell. I think that's part of the reason why they have indie studios working on stuff like Streets of Rage 4.
Yeah,
and not just that, but they don't even have the same numbers of developers that they had back in those days. They don't. Yeah, they had to downsize a lot over the years due to changing financial climates and what have you.
Sorry.
It's all right, but you know, they do their best to deliver what people want, and they put surveys out all the time asking people, what would you like to see, how would you like to see it. So they're trying, but there's a lot of stuff they can only go so far, especially in a small amount of time.
Yeah.
Right, I think we should probably wrap this up here because
Yeah,
Went
any
over
longer,
3
and
hour
I'm just
mark.
gonna be rambling endlessly.
I could ramble about Sega all night, but I think we should probably stop because they're definitely the game company I've always been the most passionate about. Like they're the one I was a bit upset
So was I.
past.
Yeah.
I was like,
I felt lost.
yeah, I really did. I was like, what now? Where am I going to play my Sega games? Like, what?
Yeah,
I
what's
thought
happening to Sonic?
Yeah.
I thought they were gonna go away forever at first.
Yeah.
Like I thought I'd
Felt
missed
like
my
that.
chance to play some of Sega's most well-known games from the time.
Hmm.
Forever.
I'll just put in like a final word and then I'll shut up. But it's Sega is different to Nintendo in that they have a lot of their own IPs. Nintendo have got very solid small repertoire of games, so you always feel like, why is there not a new F-Zero game and things like that, you know? But with Sega, that's kind of impossible to ask of them because they just make so many games, so many new IPs are Sega, you know. And there's always going to be something that's been on the back burner since forever. Where's my new Rice Star? Where's my new Crazy Taxi? Where's my new Power Stone? You could do it all day.
That's Capcom,
you know.
But...
Oh yeah, that's Capcom. Yeah.
And even Nintendo has their one-hit wonders. Like say Mole Mania on the Game Boy. When are we going to see new Mole Mania? Probably never.
Yeah, but like Nintendo doesn't have as many, and that's fine. They focus on what they nurture a smaller number of IPs, and that's worked for them. But for Sega, it's just some you kind of miss, and that is one thing I would ask of Sega is maybe think about those games. Maybe think about, like they have done with Panzer Dragoon. It's only a remake, but
if you just get some other developer that's not actually doing Sega, they're passionate enough with the love and passion that it deserves, like should before, then get them.
Yeah. So Sega ages Dynamite Decker, if you please.
That sounds good to me.
That's my final word.
How about Sega ages toilets?
Toilet!
You just wheel on your Switch. And then it breaks. Because of Joy-Con drift. Right, so that has been the 74th Lucky Hit podcast. These things get longer and longer every time we do them, but it's cool because we are very passionate about what we do.
We have fun.
So, yeah, we do have fun. So, I have been the Gagaman.
I've been CherryT.
I've been Murry Curry.
Ron. I've been ShelvedGamer.
Ron.
And I've been Elk, and I'm expecting a much longer podcast later this month for Sonic's birthday.
Oh boy.
And also, can I just take this opportunity to say goodbye for a few podcasts?
Yes.
I think this might be I think I've been in all 74, haven't I?
But maybe one. I think you have actually been.
I think so. I mean, I can't be asked to double check, but
someone in chat wants to watch all the podcasts and find out.
Yeah, please do that.
I think I've been in all of them, but yeah, I'm gonna have to drop out. Actually, I don't know, but yeah, I'm gonna drop out for probably a couple of months now. So I'm gonna miss like a good 8 or so of them, and that's a real shame because getting back involved in these podcasts has been fantastic, especially during these times. It's been one of the things that's keeping me going because it's been very stressful.
Well,
so,
we all got lives, so it was going to happen eventually.
Yeah, so I'm going to say I'm going to miss you guys. I'm going to be listening to the podcasts, but I won't be able to chime in without. Well, I'll chime in
on the chat.
Yeah, I can give you boys a run in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just want to say a big thanks, and I also want to thank people who have dropped in for the streams that I've been doing with 5C and Prince over the last couple of months. So not even that actually.
I'll take this opportunity to say it while we're live. Is congratulations ahead of time.
Oh, thanks for that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
I cannot wait to.
I mean, I can't deny that I'm terrified because of the whole situation. I can't even be there for the birth, which is crushing. If I'm being honest. I've literally got to sit there like a useless so and such because of there's the whole not mixing households, and I can't get childcare and all that kind of stuff. So I literally have to sit here and wait and not even be able to pick up the child until probably the day after. So yeah, that's not going to be fun. And that's going to be on this Thursday. So basically, 2-3 days time. So there we go.
Wow.
But I will be on the streams. I'll be in the chat, and I'll still be around in spirit. So yeah, sorry, I just wanted to take this opportunity to say goodbye for a little while.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll be wishing you all the best with that.
Thank you very much. I'll keep you all posted on how it's going.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, do.
Hopefully, you and your family remain in good spirits.
Yeah, I think so, because this whole current situation with the virus and everything hasn't broken us yet. So I think we're holding up for now.
And like I say, the Lucky Hit train will keep chugging on like a tank engine, if you will.
Yes.
We're gonna keep this podcast weekly for as long as we physically can.
We're gonna keep on with it.
To work and stuff like that. But either way, even if they don't end up being Monday, might still.
We'll figure something out for sure.
We'll figure it out.
I can't wait to see the podcast reach 100. That'll be amazing.
Yeah, I'm really determined to get to that.
We will. Somehow, some way.
It's only 26 more podcasts to go, so
yeah, that'll pass in no time.
So, with that, I guess we shall all say goodbyes. See you later.
Thank you and good night.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
See you next week.
Bye.
cheerio.
Yeah.
Pip pip.
Oh, that was Pete.